Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting to order. We have the prayer and the pledge by Councilwoman Brooke Markcott.
We'll say the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven,
Hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil.
pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mayor Pro Tem Ricky Gonsalas,
Present.
Councilmember Brooke Markcott,
here.
Councilmember Marlon Lewis.
Here.
Councilmember David Broussard,
Here.
Councilmember Deidre Ledbetter. Here. Councilmember Dee Dee Johnson-Reed.
Here.
Councilmember Dustin Sweer.
Here.
Thank you. Item 1, public comment. Do we have any comment cards? Seeing none, we're going to move on, but at this time, I'll ask you to please put your phone on vibrate and so turn it off, and we'll move to item 2.
Acceptance of the minutes. Acceptance of the minutes of August 16th, 2022, which published on August 31st, 2022.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Marlon Lewis and a second by Councilwoman Dee Dee Johnson-Reed. Is there any comments on our minutes of August 31st? Seeing none, please vote your machines. Thank you. Item 3.
Persons to address the council. A, Thomas Falvey to give an update on the Great Iberia Chamber of Commerce.
Well, good evening, folks.
evening.
Good
Seems
evening.
like it's just yesterday I stood here, but it's actually been a year, believe it or not. This was the first thing I did last year as a chamber person, came in and just want to give you a little update on the chamber and a little bit about Gumbo Cook-Off. So chamber's doing fairly well. We're getting lots of new businesses joining chambers, doing ribbon cutting. Seems like they're almost one a week last couple of months, which is good. And it's, not just the chamber, it's the businesses. It's what you guys are doing here in the city to make this like we say, a great place to live, work, and play. And we thank you for that as well. Gumbo Cook-Off, thank you guys for allowing us to use Bologna Plaza, the Slyman Theater, and kind of take over the downtown area for a couple of days. But it does do a lot, not only for the chamber. It started 33 years ago. This is our 32nd. We did skip that COVID year. But it started to pay off the bills on the chamber building, and now it's to operate the chamber. Let's keep our membership fees at an affordable rate to where there's no way we could make it at the chamber just on our membership dues. So allows us to do a lot of things, and it also generates a lot of revenue for our economy. Our hotels are full. Even though it's a food event, our restaurants are seeing people. So it's a great event. It's October 8th and 9th. Saturday, we'll start with the 5K run that On Tap is doing again, the 5K Roo Run. We're going to have bands all day Saturday from 10 to about 7. The Creole Food Fest, which is lots of different great foods, and if you can tell, I probably have sampled quite a few of those over the years. The Meanest Beans Cook-Off is going to be going on that day, and the Youth Gumbo Cook-Off. We're also on Sunday, of course, it's the Super Bowl of Gumbo. There are 75 teams this year. So it's last year, I think we had 56 that came, so we're back up a high number. I think weather being good, let's keep our fingers crossed that it'll be a great weekend for the Gumbo Cook-Off. Lots of bands coming in on Sunday, 2 bands coming in on Sunday as well. Children's activities, fun jumps, face painting, a lot of good, a free event. You don't have to pay anything to come and participate and just listen to music or be there. No ice chests are allowed. We do close off some streets. I've already requested some street closures to the city. We meet with a lot of your departments to help put this on, whether it be Parks and Recreation, Public Works, getting the barricades and everything that it takes, and about 400 volunteers that volunteer that weekend for the chamber and help put this on. So we thank you for that, and I'll answer any questions if anybody has any.
Do you need any judges for the gumbo cook-off?
So send me your information. I will tell you that is a popular question.
I bet it is.
Walter Voorhees sets up all the judges. This will be Walter's last year doing that for us. So we're in transition like a lot of things. But send us your information if you know someone, and I'll pass that on to him, and he schedules those. There are some of them that are news media people because you want them to talk about it on the air. So there's some of those slots he kind of keeps. But I don't remember exactly the number, but it's quite a few judges.
Okay.
We do it in a building off on Iberia Street. That's and it truly is anonymous. When you're cooking there, and say you had a cooking team and you bring your bowls of gumbo to the Magnolia Square where we do the judging, and there's no name on it, just numbered. Once it goes in, it's a system. The judges judging don't even know who they know. The only thing they know if it's professional or amateur, and then you know if it's chicken or sausage, seafood, or melange.
Okay,
But
gotcha.
it's a true community event. It does generate a lot for our community, and we're glad to be a part of it. And we hope that it's here for generations to come. And it's kind of why we do a youth gumbo cook-off, starting our kids young and try to bring them involved. And we do lots of other things throughout the year. Very, very Christmas, where we get people to go and shop in our stores. And last year we had 50 stops and probably about 150 families, I think I'm saying that right, participating, about 300 people that walked and drove all over our city. So there's a lot going on. That's going to be on the first Saturday, the same day the Christmas parade is. We try to keep people here in New Iberia, so it's kind of why we do all those things.
Very
Any
good.
other questions?
Thank you.
Anybody else? Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Do we have other vendors that can kind of come and sell products there?
We don't do a vendor thing at the thing, but we did
Okay.
partner with, I say partner, the Shadows on Saturday does their event. And for
Okay.
years, they won 2 different weekends. Last year, they needed to move it because I think of weather. And we've always wanted, according to Janet, my predecessor, it would always be a great thing to have on the same day. And the Shadows on the Tesh on Saturday does do vendors. We don't do vendors. The only thing we have are cooking teams. There may be 1 or 2 outside things like if we had an ice cream vendor or something we don't call them vendors. I forget what they're called, but it's not a vendor and all the tickets, it's no cash in any booth, so all the tickets come through the chamber for various reasons, but it
Right.
makes it easier not to have cash all over the place.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, 3B.
Cynthia Elmer to discuss National Suicide Prevention Week.
Thank you. It's National Suicide Month, the whole month. That's all right. I probably sent it in wrong, but I'm here to talk about suicide prevention and what's sad. I'm going to start off with some bad news. Suicide is the 3rd leading cause of death in Louisiana for people 10 to 34. That's horrible. But we have some good news. As y'all know, I've been going to Washington, D.C. and Baton Rouge and advocating for suicide prevention for many years. And we have a 988 number that was started July 16th of this year. Instead of calling 911, let's say if somebody's in a mental health crisis or suicidal ideation, you call 911 and maybe the police get there and they bring you to jail because they don't know what else to do. You call 988 for this type of circumstance, and they will get a live special person trained for mental health, emotional support, or suicide ideation. We also have 211 that came into effect last month too. It's for resources. You can talk to somebody that maybe can refer you to somebody for resources or about mental health, providing information and referrals. I also want to invite y'all, I put y'all one on y'all places, to the Acadiana Out of the Darkness Walk. I brought this to Louisiana in 2006 after I lost my son to suicide in 2004. And since then, I've been looking at my family history, and I saw that I've lost 14 members of my family to suicide in the last 4 generations. That's that I know of. There's a lot of them, they talk French, or I didn't understand, or they talk behind my back, that I don't know that died by suicide. It was just taboo back then. Now we're bringing mental health and suicide awareness out in the open so you can talk openly. And I've joined AFSP, American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, since 2006, and we've got a lot accomplished. This year we'll have 6 Out of the Darkness walks in Louisiana. We have over 400 walks in the United States and now Puerto Rico. We're advocating for mental health, suicide prevention. We have public policy. We have educational programs that we give throughout the state. I go all over because my husband and I get along so good because I'm never home. So I'll go anywhere for y'all. Everything is free, y'all.
Yeah.
Call me. You can look afsp.org and see all the events that we have and all the programs that we give. And like I said, it's all free. But I would love to see y'all at the Acadiana Out of the Darkness Walk. And if y'all have any questions,
Questions, comments?
thank y'all.
Question.
Yes.
Is it always in Youngsville?
The Acadiana Walk, yes.
Okay.
We started out in Lafayette, but then we kind of outgrew it, and then I'm not the walk chair anymore. It was turned over to somebody else, and they found that at the Youngsville Sports Complex, it was more advantageous for us. And now we're going to have it at Foster Park, which is attached to the Youngsville Sports Complex, but we'll be by ourselves, so it will be better. But it's the Acadiana, so it encompasses the 7 parishes.
Anybody else? Thank you. Thanks for all you do.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Madam Clerk, 4A.
Ordinance number 2022-17, an ordinance declaring certain New Iberia Police Department vehicles as surplus, and further authorizing the sale of same to the City of St. Martinville and City of Abbeville Police Departments or any other police departments at a cost not less than $20,000 per vehicle in accordance with state law.
I need a motion to open this public hearing. So moved. Motion by Mayor Pro Tem Ricky Gonsalas, and second by Councilman David Broussard. Is there any public comment on this public hearing? Hearing and seeing none, I need a motion to close.
Motion.
Councilwoman Dee Johnson-Reed and Councilman David Broussard. Thank you all very much. 4B.
Ordinance number 2022-18, an ordinance amending and reenacting section 58-56 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of New Iberia, Louisiana regarding the curfew for minors within the city limits of New Iberia.
I need a motion to open this public hearing.
Motion.
Motion by Councilwoman Brooke Marcotte and a second by Councilman David Broussard. Is there any public comment on this item? Yes, sir.
Richard Phillips.
Yes, sir.
I'm not familiar with the ordinance, but how could somebody enforce this? Are the kids just going to leave the city limits and go outside the city limits? Are you pushing the problem to the rest of the parish? And how are the police or whoever is involved going to actually enforce? They're going to look in a window and determine a child is underage? They're going to stop half the cars and verify who's in the car? It's one thing to write an ordinance, and I haven't read it, but what is my question, and you don't answer, I know, but some of these ordinances are written, they sound good, but are they enforceable?
Okay.
And I know I can make a comment, right, during public comment? Right, Jeff?
It's a public hearing, I thought y'all
Public
normally
hearing.
do.
It's public hearing. It's going to come up for discussion.
Yeah, yeah. We're gonna have it on another item. This is the time to hear from the public.
Okay.
And then we get it very soon, just a few
Sure,
items
that's
down.
fine.
And
Okay.
then we'll have our discussion then.
Okay.
Anybody else for public comment? Thank you for that. And then I need a motion to close our public hearing.
So moved.
Mayor Pro Tem Ricky Gonsalas and Councilman David Broussard. All right, we're moving on to 4C.
Special ordinance number 2021-2022-10, an ordinance amending the budget to reflect fund allocation to City of New Iberia Civic Center Marina, Phases 1 and 2. FPNC number 16-01-00-86/F1600000156 Phase 1, and F16000161 Phase 2, and New Iberia CVA Pump Out Grant Amendment 2, Purchase Order Number 2000303106.
Thank you. Motion to open our public hearing.
Motion.
Councilman Marlon Lewis, and I think it was Councilwoman DeeDee Johnson-Reed. Do we have any public comment on this item with so many numbers? Hearing and seeing none, I need a motion to close this public hearing.
Second.
Mayor Pro Tem Ricky Gonsalas, and I don't know who got it, Councilwoman Brooke Markcott. Thank y'all. Moving on, item 5A.
Ordinance number 2022-17, an ordinance declaring certain New Iberia Police Department vehicles as surplus and further authorizing the sale of same to the City of St. Martinville and City of Abbeville Police Departments or any other police department at a cost not less than $20,000 per vehicle in accordance with state law.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman David Broussard and a second by Councilwoman DeeDee Johnson-Reed. Is there any discussion on this item? Hearing and seeing none, please vote your machines. Thank you. And now, Madam Clerk, we have to wait 10 days before we can sell them, right? Okay, thank you, just making sure. Item 5B.
Ordinance number 2022-18, an ordinance amending and reenacting section 58-56 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of New Iberia, Louisiana, regarding the curfew for minors within the city limits of New Iberia.
Do you have a motion?
Motion.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman David Broussard and a second by Councilwoman DeeDee Johnson-Reed. Is there any discussion on this item?
So,
Yes, ma'am.
yeah, I'm just wondering why I haven't received my invitation to come and talk about this at the committee meeting.
We haven't had a committee meeting, but,
You guys haven't had an ordinance meeting since the last time we talked about this?
no, we haven't.
So when do you have them?
Well, kind of when we need them, but almost every month. But depends on what we got on the agenda. But this, remember, is all we're doing is going up to state law. This is just to mimic state law.
No, I understand that, but if you recall in our last meeting,
Oh, I do.
I have a problem with the ordinance itself.
I know you do. You have a problem with the jail time.
That's
Yeah.
right.
And-
The penalties for,
Right. And that's
being truant.
what's, right now, we're just doing this at the recommendation of our city prosecutor and our chief of police to get it up to level to be the same. The state changed their law. So all we're doing, we didn't do this. We've been getting beat up on this. All we doing right now is changing this to reflect the state law. That is the state that did this, and we can't be different from the state. We have to follow and enforce the same laws. But
So-
I know your issue is a whole nother issue, and that's the jail time for these kids.
Yes.
So that's something that I don't know that we're gonna wanna contradict state law, but you can come to the next ordinance committee meeting, and I know to invite you, and that's something we could talk about. But right now, we're just trying to get this at the request of the city prosecutor to be the same because our ordinance is different from state law. So we have a problem if we don't fix it.
so I do have one question
Sure.
about that. We said we were raising the age from 17 to 18, right?
It's 18 and under. In other
So,
words, it
but
was
this says-
17 and under, right,
Okay.
Jeff? And now it's 18 and under.
But this says, it shall be unlawful for any minor
Under 18.
under the age of 18.
Right.
So that doesn't sound like
It used to
18 and
say-
under.
No, but it used to say under the age of 17.
Okay, so,
So we're just going up to 18. You are 18, that's the other thing we got bashed on. You're 18, you're an adult when you're 18.
no, so, okay, so I just want to be clear
that
because
right,
we were
Chief?
saying we were moving it to 18, so it's
Yeah.
kids under the age of 18. So an
Yes.
18-year-old is not really affected by this.
Correct. Is
Okay.
that, I see
Is
my
that
police
clear?
chiefs back here.
Okay, I just want to be, because
Yes.
that's not what we said the last time.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we just said 18.
It's up to the age of 18, under 18.
Right.
18s are adults.
Correct.
Perfect, okay.
Okay. So part of
There was
it,
some confusion.
okay, no, that's
Okay.
fine. That's why we do this.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Anybody else? Councilman Broussard, welcome back.
We're glad to be back. Don't get old. Have these troubles every once in a while. But in the night today, Washington DC is doing the same thing we're doing right now, 18 and under. Today, they were saying on the news, they were having trouble with their kids too. So around the nation, they're having trouble. So I heard it today. I said, whop, whop, here we go.
But so,
Good for them. It's gonna be good for 18 and under.
okay, but
Understand,
it's,
18 is an adult.
but
I
it's not
believe-
18 and under.
But I've had trouble with adults, with
We're
kids.
going down the same road. It's
But,
it's
I've
under
had-
18.
I've had adults, I've had these kids get slapped on the hand, breaking your house. You know, breaking in my garage. I found them, I put them to the police before the police department come on again, and they just slapped them on the hand and bye-bye, they gone. we need to do something a little bit better than that, and yes, I'm for it. And if it's good for Washington DC, it's good enough for us too.
Well,
And
that's a bold statement.
I guess well, and I guess from my
Yes, ma'am.
perspective, we can't,
Give you the floor
everything can't be a hammer. We've got to give these kids a chance. If every time they do something wrong, they get jail time, then what are we doing to our children? What are we saying to them? They need to be able to get a warning, and then we say, okay, look, we've tried, and then you put the hammer on them, but you don't start with the hammer. And this ordinance starts with the hammer, and I have a problem with that.
And the police.
Can I?
Yes, ma'am.
The ordinance does give the judge, it says if convicted, the judge has the opportunity to fine them, to give them jail time, or to give them community service. So it's under his
Absolutely, but
judgment.
okay, so today we have a judge who says, I'm gonna be lenient. Tomorrow, the next judge says, every single person that come through is getting jail time. We shouldn't have that on the books,
But that's the way,
but we can
Judges
change
work.
it.
One at a time, one at a time. You have the floor right now.
that's the
One
way
at a time.
judges work, you know, it's.
I know
it's-
you're passionate
it's their
about this, but one
judgment.
at a
That's
time.
why they're the judge, so they determine.
Based on the laws we write.
Wait, it's not a debate right now.
All
I'll
right.
give you your floor again, I promise.
No, that's okay, I'm good.
I know.
I'm finished.
You finished? Okay. Anybody else?
Comment.
Yes, sir.
I just think that, you know, the way the ordinance is written, it gives the police department and the judge the tools they need to enforce the violators in our city. And without the tools, they can't make any kind of enforcement. So whether it's harsh or not harsh, it leaves the opinion to a judge. And I understand judges change, so does police chief and whatever, but you can't eliminate the tools in the tool chest for them to do their job. We all want to see crime go down in our cities, so give them the tools to make the decision to improve that. I just see it as tools, and they can use them at their discretion.
Can I get the floor again?
I'm gonna go around and then I'm gonna give it to you after. That's how we always do it. But I promise you, I won't. You'll get it
That's
again. Yes, sir.
So I actually want to make a comment based on the enforcement part. And Mr. Phillips knows I respect him. He has his opinions. We all have ours. But when it comes to enforcement, so basically it's also against the law to drive without a license, but I don't think our police department's driving around looking for someone that's driving without a license, right? So it's kind of like the same way. They're not going to be driving around looking for an underage person in the vehicle. Now, if they break the law and there's reasons, I'm guessing, for them to get pulled over or get checked or anything like that, and they discover that they're younger than the age they should be out, then I'm guessing there's going to be some issues there. But I don't see, I mean, maybe that's a question for the chief,
The
but,
chief is here. He's welcome to ask me a question.
and he can maybe answer as far as enforcement goes, but
Chief, thanks for coming to visit. You get to sell some police cars, but now you gotta work. Now you gotta earn it.
Yeah, no, there is no, you don't stop anyone because you think they're underage. That's against law. What we would do in a case like this, where it's up to the age of 18, like you've heard, if we come across a situation where we're identifying someone that, whether it be some type of crime that was committed, identify that they're under the age of 18, then the curfew violation, if it's after hours, would come into play. It's not anything that we would go and say, hey, how old are you? That's not, one, it's against the law. You can't just walk up to somebody and just do that.
So you see a kid riding on a bicycle, 11 o'clock at night, you're not going to stop him?
No,
Okay,
unless you're committing a violation, gives us a reason to do it, no.
okay, that's good to know.
I guess I want to make a
Yes, ma'am.
comment. I
Yeah,
know
sure.
previously with the neighborhood watch, if a neighbor recognized that it was a child that looked a little too young to be out at midnight or 1 a.m., they would call NIPD, and that's whenever NIPD would make contact with the child and see if they had ID on them. That's usually what you guys do, right? If someone calls,
It depends on
And
the scenario.
complains?
Now, any call for service, as you know, that anyone can call our department because they have a concern of something. We respond to that call. If there is a situation that would afford us an opportunity to go engage in a conversation with a group or with an individual that someone says that they're doing something or suspicious or whatever that may be, that's a conversation. That's not we're stopping you and forcing you to identify yourself. Those laws of having to identify yourself got thrown off the books years ago.
Okay.
So, no, we don't have the authority to just grab someone and say, give me your ID, let me see who you are. That law got thrown off the books years ago.
Okay. But like
So, but we will engage in a conversation.
if they're in the park after dark, because there's a
If-
sign
if the-
saying
if-
it's closed.
If the park is closed?
Yeah.
Then yes, then that's a
Okay.
violation of the closing time.
Okay.
So we would then engage and find out what they're doing there.
Everything's definitely situational.
It's situational.
Okay.
Anybody else? Questions, comments for our guest, sir?
Yeah, so, I mean, I'm for this ordinance, man. I was a kid before, probably a kid twice, and definitely walked this city from uptown to downtown. And I mean, they never really enforced that ordinance, so, I mean, it's just something on paper. I'll be honest with you, I kinda agree with Mr. Phillips, and I'm sure they got some other people that agree with ordinance are just a piece of paper if you can't enforce them. So, you know, my message is to the parents, man, keep them kids off the street. They shouldn't be mixing with that crowd that's out there, you know, after the, you know, legal hours or what have you, 'cause ain't nothing good after dark, you know.
Look, it
Ain't nothing
doesn't
good after-
affect-
You know,
it-
after
Yeah.
leisure hours.
It doesn't affect anybody going to work and those types of things that people do at 17 years old and older. It's when you come to an occasion where you have individuals decide to do criminal acts. And if they're doing bad things at those hours, the parents need to know where their children are, especially if they're in school.
And my
I
thing
think you
is,
would want to know.
my thing is, Chief, I said all that to say, all them little laws and rules kept me a little bit in line. You know what I'm saying? It just kept me a little bit in line. So we can't just keep softening it up. Just softening and softening and softening. Somebody gotta have some kind of, hammer, you know, to be in place. You don't necessarily have to do it, but you can at least waive it.
I'm not saying anything, I'm waiting.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody else have any other comments before I call on Councilwoman DeeDee Johnson-Reed again? Anybody else? Okay. Councilwoman, you have the floor.
So I believe that we actually do have to have some things in place. What I'm saying is that a child who is truant should never, ever get jail time for truancy. I'm not saying they're doing burglary or armed robbery. We're saying truancy. They're out at after 10 o'clock. That should never have jail time associated with it. That's unfair to those kids. Because we've all been teenagers, and we've all broke those little rules and stayed out later than we should. I would not have wanted to go to jail for that. And I don't think you put something on the books that you don't want to happen, because if you put it on the books, if it's written down, they can use that against these children. And to me, that's unfair. So that's why I want it rewritten. And hopefully I'll get invited to the meeting, and I can
No.
express myself then.
You have an open invitation, as
So,
does, I can't have any more than 3 because of our, you know, the law, but you're welcome to come.
So, Mayor, question is, this is the same law? All we moved was the age, right?
Yes.
So nothing changed?
No.
And over the years, how many kids went to Angola for truancy? How many kids went to the Parish for truancy?
Yeah, let's find out. Let's
No,
get the numbers.
that's what I wanted to know. I thought the city prosecutor was gonna be here this time. We talked about that. I don't know if we invited her or not. No slight on her. But, I
the
mean,
fact
how many
is
kids
that how
actually
many in the
went to
future?
jail? If the law was changed, I'll say, oh, man, yeah, you got a good point. But the only thing they're changing is the age. This
Okay,
law
but-
been on the books for 100 years.
But that doesn't mean you leave it there. Sometimes we have bad laws on the book.
This ain't like Second Amendment and all of that kind of stuff. This
Yeah,
is-
it is.
Hang
This
on,
is
hang
waiving,
on.
this is letting these kids know and
Hang
the
on.
parents know to keep an eye on your
Hang on.
kids after hours. That's what that is.
First
And that
offense,
been
Marlon,
around.
come on.
But nobody went to jail for that.
You don't know that.
Oh, I
You're
know
saying
that.
it. You're making an
Oh, I'd
assumption.
have heard that.
Hey, y'all,
I would've heard
one at a time. I love y'all, one at a time. That's how it works,
I would have heard that.
and it does work.
You have no proof that that hasn't happened. I still have the floor, actually.
Yes, ma'am.
You
do
have no
the
proof
floor.
that that hasn't happened.
One at a time.
And all I'm saying is that when we find a bad law on our books, we're supposed to change. That's what lawmakers do. If they had a bad law about racism, we would all be up in arms wanting to change it. So why wouldn't we change things to protect our children as well? I'm done.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. Councilman Broussard.
Better ride, spoil the child.
We're forgetting about the main ingredient.
Hang on.
The
One at a
main
time.
ingredient, the parents. If we don't have anything hard on the books, then we bring them in, bring the parents in too. If there's anything to be said, now it's hard to get the parents in because sometimes they don't give a hoot what's going on. They don't care what time they come in. Well, we gonna make them care. So I'm for this. And if anything goes down bad, like the break-in of my house, you arrest them and bring them in and have every parent there. And don't just slap them on the hand and let them go. That was dangerous. I was in the house when they trying to break in, 6 of them. You know? And your sidewalks, Miss Dee Dee, the other day I was looking at the wife. They had six adult kids
Hang
over
on.
18 walking on the other side of the street when they had a
Right,
brand new sidewalk on that side.
That's a whole nother issue.
I couldn't figure out that.
That's a whole nother issue.
They were walking on the other side of the street.
Thank you, Mr. B. Jeff had his hand up.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Tonight, the only issue is 18, under 18 or under 17. I think one alternative to the ordinance committee would be to have a meeting with the councilwoman and the prosecutor. We don't have to have that big a group.
Okay.
And I think we can
Works for
figure
me.
out then the way to approach it, and I think we need some practical information on how it's actually enforced in real life,
Okay. And,
in the wild.
The chief has his hand up.
Just real quick, to get y'all to understand.
He wants to
state
sell
law-
those police cars, huh? No.
State law has changed their law to this. Even if you wouldn't do
It's
this,
still
we
gonna
would
stay.
still be bound by state law. We would have to enforce it by state law.
Supersedes it.
We can't ignore state laws.
That's why I said that earlier. We have to do it. We don't have a choice.
It only makes it even, but by law, we're to enforce all city, parish, and state law.
Excuse me, Chief. Are you saying that the state law has all of these provisions in it for penalties?
It's gonna have some provision, but the law does say that under 18,
And I'm fine with that. What I'm saying is that the penalties for being truant, if the state law is defined it this way, okay, but I think this is a city ordinance that we put together, and I'm not 100% sure, but I think we need to review it before we, 'cause
anything they put on the law is gonna have penalties. If they make it a crime, they have to have a penalty of up to 6 months, or fine, or whatever.
well, then we probably need to think about how we address truancy then.
Yeah, but a misdemeanor law carries a sentence of up to 6 months.
Every
for it to
one
be
of
a
our
misdemeanor law.
ordinances.
And if you violate, there has to be some
I
consequence.
was just telling Laney that every one of our ordinances, you can, don't ask me, let's ask the attorney. There is a penalty, and it can be, in many, many instances,
It
jail
has to be
time.
by law.
But it can be just some sort of community service.
Oh, yeah, of course, of
So
course.
what, okay.
But everything in our
And
ordinance
I
book,
agree, I understand that.
says-
Not everything, because we got grass cutting clippings and we don't charge them
Yeah,
for
well-
having that all over the street, so not every law.
Yeah, yeah.
But all I'm saying is that let's just think about this before this is the final.
Okay, anybody else?
I just want you to find out if anybody went to jail for this.
Okay.
You'll have to look back in the sheriff's records and all these other records
well,
before, because the city is only 3 years old.
The PD's 4 years old. I know I can get you the information on the last 4 years. Well, the chief's right here. He probably even knows, but I will. I'm not gonna do it off the cuff.
I know of absolutely no one that's solely cited for curfew that has went to jail, actual jail. I know of no one. Because it's, the curfew thing is to get them in line with the parents and to make sure they understand that these kids are staying out past their time. I know of no one, and I'm pretty familiar with Nicole and with Judge Hike, not for just a curfew.
Right.
Now, if there's another charge attached to it that has a stiffer consequence because they've done a higher act,
That makes
curfew's
sense.
involved in it, then that may be. So what I'm saying is that what you're looking for on an isolated curfew, I don't think you'll find any. On an isolated.
In the
curfew.
last, maybe in the
Now, there
last
may be
4
another
years.
Be another charge attached to it that had a consequence attached to it, that had curfew in it.
Okay.
So I won't ever say that there wasn't somebody that has curfew on their charge that didn't go, but more than likely had another charge with it.
Okay. We can go back, sheriff too.
All I,
David
all I,
Watney, take it back.
all I know is I
Look at
live
that
in
far back.
curfew city, and I hadn't had one person come say, they took my child to
That
jail for
doesn't mean it
curfew.
didn't happen.
I'm just saying.
You've only been a council person 5
You would know.
years.
You would know, I promise you.
Any,
They call us for everything else, you would know.
any other discussion?
Just,
Yes, sir.
I mean, we had a really good discussion, and I think Dee Dee's points were well taken, as well as Councilman Lewis, but I think it all boils down to exactly what the chief said. If there's a state law, it supersedes anything the city government does. So whether we remove it out of our ordinance or not, and it's in the state statute, the judge has it as discretion to use. He can use it. So, I mean, it really makes no difference if we take it out. It's just to be a paper trail, because if it's in state statute, the judge can use it to put truancy.
And I get that part, Ricky. What I'm asking about is Mayor Pro Tem, we have all these penalties. So I want to know, does the state law have the exact same penalties? If they don't, then we have an opportunity to improve ours. Sorry, we get passionate about the kids.
It's okay. It's okay. We all do. We all do.
Me too.
That's why we're here. If you weren't up here, if you didn't care, you wouldn't be up here. That's the way I look at it. So, any other discussion? Then I'd ask you to please vote your machines. Thank you very much. Good discussion. Moving on to 5C.
Special ordinance number 2021-2022-10, an ordinance amending the budget to reflect fund allocation to City of New Iberia Civic Center Marina Phases 1 and 2, FP&C number 16-01-00-86-06/F160000156 Phase 1 and F160000161 Phase 2, and New Iberia CBA Pump Out Grant Amendment 2, purchase order number 2000303-106.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Dustin Swear, and who was the second? Councilman Broussard. Thank you. Is there any discussion on this item?
So we're, just for everybody else to know, we're actually adjusting the budget just to make sure we have enough to
Yes.
cover the costs of the repairs
For
we're
our
making.
bids that we'll be awarding
Yes.
down the line. Yes, thank you. Anybody else? Then please vote your machines. Thank you. All right, moving on to resolutions. 6A.
Resolution number 22-186, awarding contract to Coastal Timbers Incorporated for City of New Iberia Civic Center Marina Phases 1, 2, and CVA, and authorizing the mayor to execute any and all documentation in connection therewith, contingent upon the approval of the FP&C request for concurrence.
I think you were supposed to read those numbers. No, I'm picking. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Mayor Pro Tem Ricky Gonsalas, do I have a second?
Motion.
Second, Councilwoman Brooke Marcotte. Is there any discussion on this item?
So what's the difference in the federal share and the low bid amount?
We have a match to come up with, and so they gave us, it's an 80-20 match on this. This is the marina.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, so it's an 80-20 match, and so we had to come up with the
With the
difference.
20? Okay.
Yes. Yeah, that's right, huh, Paul? Correct. Yeah, that's what I thought. Just like to make sure.
Paul's coming up.
Oh, Paul's coming up.
I'm all talked out.
The federal government and the state of Louisiana require a match amount for the project that's been described. The project went to public bid on July 26th, and there were 2 bids that were turned in. I think y'all have a bid tabulation sheet.
We do.
And the base bid value was Coastal Timber, that's a local contractor who bid on the project. He actually did the City Slips project and a number of projects along the Bayou Teche. So we thought it was a really good bid. And considering the fact that most of the numbers that were put together on this project were pre-inflation numbers.
3 years
Almost
old.
3 years ago. We think it's really some good bidding, although it's a little high, so anyway.
Yeah. It's almost double what we initially thought.
Yes, and it's reflective of the market. Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Any other questions? And I'd ask you to please vote your machines. Thank you. All right, 6B.
Resolution number 22-187, authorizing the mayor to execute a mutual assistance agreement between the City of New Iberia Police Department, and Iberia Parish Law Enforcement District relating to SWAT operations.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Councilwoman Brooke Marcotte and a second by Councilman Dustin Swear. Is there any discussion on this item? No discussion?
So our police officers could potentially have to go and work in the parish and vice versa, right?
Both, and we're actually, yes, both. And in other words, when the sheriff's department comes into the city, our SWAT commander is in charge of the whole team.
Right.
When we go into the parish, their SWAT commander is in charge of the whole team.
Okay.
But we've already been training together for a couple of years. We share equipment at times. It's a good thing.
So what if the issue is happening like in Delcom? Would our city police officers go into that city since it's part of the parish?
Only major incidents, only
Okay.
requiring SWAT team response, i.e. what happened on Troy Road last week.
Yeah.
A situation like that, they called for assistance. Our members of SWAT team went with equipment and assisted them. Their SWAT commander was the command lead. We fall under their insurance, so it's not an insurance issue for the city, but we support them manpower-wise. Vice versa, they support us manpower-wise with any major incident inside the city.
Okay. So that would include like if it was, because I don't know where Troy Road is, sorry, Delcom,
Right off of Daspit.
okay. But let's say it's in Delcom. Would our city employees,
If
city
it's in
police go there?
If it's in Iberia
It's in Iberia
Parish on a
Parish.
major incident, it'd
Okay.
have to be a SWAT threshold type call. So you're talking about a major incident, not just a domestic
No, no,
disturbance.
I get it,
Yeah, So it would, in a situation like that, yes, we would, our SWAT team members, not our department as a
Right.
whole, but our SWAT team members would go join their SWAT team.
Okay, excellent.
Any other questions or comments?
Chief, just to piggyback on, she said, so basically SWAT is its own entity with its own members and
Yes.
in terms, as far as going out and
If you
to
think
major
about,
crime scenes.
yeah, if you think about this, we have anywhere from 7 to 10 members at any given time. In general rule, on a SWAT team in big cities, they generally run 15 to 20. Our two teams combined make 15 to 20. So it makes because you think about resources of sick leave, vacation, those types of things, we may have 4 members out at any given time, but a major incident can happen at any time. So this gives us the support we need manpower-wise, and it gives them the support they need manpower-wise. So joining the teams together has a full team. So it doesn't hurt you as much on a scene that big where you have 4 members out because of whatever. They may be on vacation, may be sick, whatever that is. You still have enough members to support. You end up with 10, 12 members at any time. And then
We
all
get to
the
combine
equipment
our
that goes along
equipment.
with
That's
it.
the big thing. We get to combine our equipment.
I mean, we have a lot of cool stuff. I mean, we can do a lot of things that people. We can do a lot of things in a major scene that keeps the community safe, and that's the biggest thing that we want to make sure we do, because when you have a major incident, and then we've had them in this city, you want to make sure that you can keep the neighbors and everybody surrounding safe, along with the people that you're dealing with. Because whether it's a mental health issue, whether it's a domestic that turned really, really bad, like what just happened, you want to make sure that if you can save life, that's what we're here to do. So that's what our whole intention is, to save life.
Any other questions or comments? Then I'd ask you to please vote your machines. Thank you. Thank you, Chief. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Good night.
All right, 6C.
Resolution number 22-188, rescinding resolution number 22-144, and the award to Construction Site Specialties LLC for sewer system improvements, Basin D Project, LCDBG, fiscal year 2021.
Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mayor Pro Tem Ricky Gonsalas, a second by Councilman David Broussard. Is there any discussion on this item? Jeff, you want to let us know why we're rescinding this?
Yeah.
Well, we had some bid materials that came in that did not meet the requirements of state law. And although we never like to reject a low bid, I think in this case we had to. And I think the case law is pretty clear. This was something, I did check with the AG's office, Attorney General's office, about, the proper response here, but I don't think we have a choice but to reject this bid and then to take up the next item. Or to rescind the award and take up the next item.
So does that mean we go to the,
Next bidder,
Second.
which we're
Yeah.
doing, the next item, yes.
okay.
Yep. Any other discussion? And I'd ask you to please vote your machines. Thank you. Madam Clerk? D.
Resolution number 22-189, awarding contract to NCMC LLC for sewer system improvements Basin D project, LCDBG fiscal year 2021, and further authorizing the mayor to execute any and all documentation in connection therewith.
So moved.
Do I have a motion?
Second.
Mayor Pro Tem Ricky Gonsalas, and second by Councilwoman Brooke Marcotte. Is there any discussion on this item? Yes, sir.
The contractor did agree to hold their bid for 30 days to extend that time so that we could do this. And there was some concern that if we put it out for bid, we could get even a higher number because the numbers are trending up. So after discussion, we thought this was probably the best thing to do.
Any questions or comments?
Is NCMC, is that a local company?
Hang on. Where are they out of? I think they're local. Yeah, Lafayette. I mean,
Okay.
anybody else? Yes, sir.
Hey, Jeff, but this is the second time we see it. I think we saw this on the Pepperplex as well.
Yeah.
This one, is
Two
that
in a
maybe-
row.
Is that maybe a trend, or are they just contractors just trying to bid too many things possibly?
I don't know.
I mean,
I don't know.
I have never seen it too like this.
I think it may be something that people haven't caught in the past,
Okay,
and I know we flagged the first one
right, that's right.
because Paul Onlack caught it and brought it to our attention. And then we looked at this one, the second one. I looked at another one today that I think is fine, but I don't know. I don't know, but could we save a lot of money if they quit?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what
we
that's,
Sure.
certainly
it up?
could.
Yeah.
Certainly could.
Yeah, so maybe we need better instructions
that's my next
or
question.
better instructions when we send it out to the bidders to say, look, please
It's
do this and this
in,
and this so we can take the low bid.
Yeah,
when
so-
you look at instruction to bidders in every spec book, it's in there. And it tells you every step to take.
It's on the uniform bid sheet. It says it has to be there.
Yeah.
But just, and that was my next comment, if I looked at both projects that we rejected, and you're looking at over $500,000 difference between
Oh,
both
yeah.
projects.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So if it was legally to put something in the bid package to make sure they follow the rules, it may save the taxpayers money down the road. I don't know if it is or not.
Agreed, but it is in there.
I-
In my 38 years as a contractor, it happened to me once. I screwed up once and didn't get the job. And I really wanted it, but, I mean, it's just, the rules are the rules. But it clearly tells you, if you don't have your number on the envelope, you don't open your bid. If you don't have your bid bond, if you haven't acknowledged your addenda, and if you don't have your, corporate resolution, they're not gonna, you can't take your bid. But that's state law. So part of it is just a heads up for the contractors, and they know that because they bid public bids all the time, but it happens. And it did cost us a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, are we gonna have to do some sort of budget adjustment for this? Because we're talking about $350,000 more.
Yeah, we could cover this. When we have our budget meeting, which is coming, you'll see where we are really doing a lot of sewer work. I am really trying to make Vince Palumbo, who has less than 13 months left, earn his money for his last 13 months. I'm trying to use his experience. But you're going to see, we covered this and found a way to cover this.
Okay.
And then you'll see at budget time how we are really going to take money out of the tax fund, which is made for that, and really put it back into the community. We're not a bank. We're supposed to be putting the money back. So sewer's going to be one of our biggest budget items coming up because I got about 13 more months with a man who has a ton of experience and that I trust, and we got a lot of things to get done before he leaves.
Okay.
But anyway, we covered this one creatively. Is there any other discussion? Then I would please ask you to vote your machines. Thank you very much. 6E.
Resolution number 22-190, authorizing the mayor to purchase a tandem axle dump truck on behalf of the City of New Iberia Wastewater Department, and authorizing the mayor to execute any and all documentation in connection therewith.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion, Councilman David Broussard and Councilwoman DeeDee Johnson-Reed. Is there any discussion on this item? Hearing and seeing none, please vote your machines. Thank you. 6F.
Resolution number 22-191, accepting change order number 1 for the City of New Iberia Asphalt Overlay Project, and authorizing the mayor to execute any and all contracts and documentation in connection therewith.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Dustin Swear and a second by Councilwoman DeeDee Ledbetter. Thank you. And we have our project engineer to tell you about the change order.
Good evening.
This change order is not a monetary change order. It is basically just changing the language in the contract to give the contractor additional days to work on one street because they were bound by special conditions because it was next to a school. And Mother Nature has basically been not very friendly to us, and they got behind. And so this basically extends the liquidated damage time further out, 20 more working days for them to try to get that street done in that time frame. So that's basically all it does. It just changes the language. It runs, those days run concurrent within the existing contract time frame. We're not extending the contract any additional days on the overall end, because this one works within the existing time. So that's really all it is just to clean up the language and give them an extra 20 days to try to get this finished when the weather stops raining. So that's basically all it's for, and just to avoid liquidated damages in this situation.
And if they don't make the 20 days, the penalties come back?
They come back
Yes.
in. They automatically come back in unless you so grant additional time at that time. But we've already gone through about 10 days of the 20 days, you know, because this was already written, you know,
I know.
back. So, but we're already tracking those days.
Good.
So that's basically all it's for, is just to give them a little extra time.
Questions, comments?
Question on change order?
I do, oh, go ahead.
I have a
Ma'am.
question, but it's not about the change order. It's about streets though. Since
Okay.
he's here. Some of the streets have, you know, they've gotten the overlay and everything, but there's some finishing stuff that needs to be done.
That is correct. Not actually, most of the streets actually haven't actually got their finished overlay. They just got the first overlay.
Okay.
There's only, I think, 3 of the whole project that we actually got finished overlay on. And they just have shoulders to come back and finish. Right now, we have 3 that were reconstructed on the south end of town. Last week, we did Constance and Napoleon. They're going to Everett tomorrow to try to knock it out on the north end of town. So as soon as they get these little groups of reconstructions done, they're gonna get what we call wearing, which is the first level of asphalt on all of those streets, and then they got a crew coming back around to start putting wearing course, which is the final lift. They sent a letter to the city. They actually having supply chain issues. They actually ran out of limestone for 2 weeks. They couldn't make asphalt for 2 weeks, which is huge because they make 2,000 tons a day, you know. So them not actually be able to make a product it hampers their production, number one, but it backs all their stuff up. So they didn't ask for additional time. It was just to basically let the city know, look, we're having supply chain issues. We're having trouble getting the rock from the quarries in Missouri, and that's going to cause some delays. So, but they've starting to get material in now. But the project manager sent us an update on Friday. You know, basically, as soon as they get these streets here worked out, they're going to circle back and start finishing out and closing out some of these streets so we can actually check them off as finished.
Yeah, but nothing's finished yet.
Yeah. We don't have a single street finished.
I know.
You know.
And some
okay.
of the streets that were slated to start sometimes back, that
Bank
hasn't,
Street.
Yeah.
that hasn't gotten started on yet, you know. I think you had said that
The rain.
you were gonna put new door hangers on.
They will.
Yeah.
They will. But they're not even, right now they're in the West End.
Ain't even close.
They're not even close. Because we had, this project is kind of split up into 2. It's half patch and overlays, half reconstructions. There's a reconstruction crew, that's all they do is reconstruction. So that crew's kind of in here working those streets. The patch and overlay crew, it's a function of management of resources. You know, they're bouncing those crews around. So they started on Field Street, did about a quarter of it, and they pulled them off to do something else. You know, it's too much work going on. And then with the delay in the material, not better to actually make asphalt. I mean, they couldn't even have patching material. So it's gonna go a little slower than we want, but I mean, they're within their days. I mean, we're only on day like 80 something days in of actual contract days, and they got 220 to do it. So, again, the last 2 months, the production has been minimal, you know, the last 2 months compared to where it could have been. So their plan is to work from the West End across, you know, town up to the Bank Street area, Jefferson Terrace, because they've already done pretty much from Lewis Street on, and then they'll jump to the north side of town. But that's still the plan, it's just not going as fast as we would like.
Because I did have some people to call me about 20 Orphan Road, because it had been torn up for months.
Yeah,
And you telling me that it's not complete, they still have some stuff to
Yeah.
do on it.
yes. Actually, we actually have 2 levels, 2 layers still to put on between Lewis and Jefferson Terrace.
Yep.
That gets a little thicker because of the traffic, it's higher on that section. So they still have two overlays to put before they finish that one out. So I'm hoping here within the next 30 days, they're gonna start coming back around and scratching these streets off one at a time. I mean, once they get a crew in town, they can overlay, I mean, they can probably overlay 6, 7 streets in a week. You know, it goes pretty fast if they just gotta get here with the equipment and the material.
So could we, as council members, get some kind of information from you as to what's complete, what's not complete? And
I issue the city a monthly report at the beginning of every month. I don't know if you share that with them or not.
you can share it with us?
Yeah, sure,
Okay.
sure.
And
I mean,
basically,
nothing's,
it goes
nothing's
through-
finished yet, so it wasn't,
Well,
you
it
know.
just goes
No, I
street by
mean-
street, you know, where it's at, what we did that month and what's
But sure,
left to
I
be
can,
done.
I'll pass that on to all y'all.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be great.
It was a little early because I was kind of waiting until something was finished,
Yeah.
but, you know, the rain has not been working, but hey, we're getting there. And part of the problem, it's not a problem, this is a good problem to have. We had 14 years of no road improvements. So people, it is an inconvenience, but it's gonna be good in the end, and we just let in another contract for more road work for the concrete streets. And then hopefully with our little initiative that we're doing, that is not a new tax, and the voters understand, we just taking a millage and allocating it, making one go away and bringing it right back for roads, that's gonna give us a 20-year road program, and gonna give us another 10 million to spend immediately, and 750 a year to spend on maintenance for 20 years, and the next mayor can bond out 10 more million. Then people will be used to this inconvenience. That'd be a good thing, but, you know, it's been a long time since we tore our streets up like this. So some of this is, you know, growing pains, but it is a good problem to have. Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, like on Walton Street, Walnut. It's nice to have the road done at the end of Walnut, but we have this problem all over the city. Around the city, I have a problem right here. They got an empty lot, they got a house on the right side. That's in the parish. We have to fight it with the firemen. If that house catches on fire, does the city go put it out? We paving that street right in front of that man's house. You know, like the city's, everybody in the city's getting done. But, you know, on that point, sometime down the road, you know, he gotta pay his fair share too, you know, to get that kind of thing.
Yeah, it didn't work that
We've been putting pressure on him to come on over to the city. But a big thing with the fire, the fireman go put it out, and we'll never collect a dime to go collect on them. I hate to argue about my own district. I love you doing the street, but there gotta be fairness too about, you know, if you live in the parish and you right there in the city's doing all this work, there should be someone on your conscience to go pay your share.
Yeah, I don't think people's brain works that way. Yes, sir.
All I wanna know about manhole rings, are y'all gonna raise
Yes.
those manholes?
Yes,
up?
yeah, they had
That's
an
like-
issue that their purchasing department dropped the ball, and one guy thought he ordered, the other guy ordered them and vice versa, so they did get ordered. So I'm like questioning, we overlaid, where's the rings, you know, we need to lift these guys, and kind of find out they didn't order them, so they had to order them and then they want back order. So they are getting those, they're supposed to be in about 10 days, and they're gonna go back around and raise all those up and get them level.
Get them done, okay.
So
Count-
that will happen.
Councilman Lewis has a private road consultant, and he's good. And we had a discussion about that. I knew who he was talking about. I said, "Oh, I know that guy. He did all those streets in Lafayette." So that was a good
The
point
ones
to
that are
bring up.
really low, we try to keep cones in them, but people keep moving them out the
Right.
road. But I mean, it's just, I think we're just trying to put the little, the rubber weights in the bottom now, just because the cones keep disappearing.
Yeah, I
So,
know.
But they are gonna come back around and fix all of those.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. gonna
I'm
work my way back
impatiently waiting to see you guys tear up the streets a little bit more than what they are already in District 1. Oh, my goodness. Why we couldn't start there? District 1.
Contractors
Contractor's
responsible for,
discretion.
contractors responsible for the means, method, and schedules that they do.
That's right.
And we have some main roads that go through District 1 that are just tragic.
But your
Very
weather
ugly.
might be better when they tear yours up and they'll be fixed
I
quicker.
hope
Because if
so.
they
Oh
tore
my
them up,
goodness.
well, you'd see they're not getting finished yet.
Plantation's an example. We milled it off and then it rained for 2
Yeah.
weeks and now
Yeah.
we got potholes we gotta deal with.
I know. I saw that.
So,
Yes, ma'am.
So have you guys finished all the streets that are near the schools? Because,
Except for the one we got the extension for.
Except
Well-
Cypress.
okay, so I'm just wondering why Hacker, that part of Hacker that's near Pesson, wasn't done, because that thing is a mess turning onto Broussard Street.
I realized we had the conversation about that, one of the other meetings, that wasn't included in the special priority because it wasn't directly in front of the
Yeah, it's
school.
not right in front of the school.
So,
Okay.
like Anderson Street was considered because it's part of the
Right.
main drag to the school. And I realized the buses turn there, but it just wasn't considered as a special priority at the time.
Okay. Okay,
Hindsight, maybe we should have, and I guess we could have, but it wasn't. And I couldn't retroactively change the contract at that point
okay.
without giving them compensation, which,
Yeah, let's not do
I
that.
don't want to pay them more money.
No.
Anybody else? Then I'd ask you to vote your machines. Thank you. Thank you,
Thank y'all
sir.
very much. Have a good evening.
You too.
too.
All right. 6G.
Resolution number 22-192, declaring the installation of the fixed generator at the T-Bayou wastewater treatment plant substantially complete as completed by J.C. Construction LLC, and further authorizing the mayor to execute any and all documentation in connection therewith.
Do you have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Dustin Swear and a second.
Second.
Councilwoman Brooke Markcott. Any discussion on this item?
So is this complete or substantially complete? Because there's nothing telling us what's left to be done.
I think it's substantially complete. It says, look, water treatment plant substantial completion, so it's substantially complete.
So, normally when we have something
I
like this,
don't
we
even
get
think he
a
had a
list.
punch list, though.
Okay, no, okay. Just wondering what was left.
I understand. And I really don't think there's anything left, but we got to go through this lean process.
Okay,
Got to give them the
Alright.
45 days to make sure nobody files a lien.
okay.
Anybody else? Please vote your machines. It was a pretty simple job.
Okay.
Thank you. 6H.
Resolution number 22-193, approving a contract for professional services with architect Paul Allen for services associated with FP&C Felicity's Landing Project, and authorizing the mayor to execute any and all documentation in connection therewith.
Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mayor Pro Tem Ricky Gonsalas, and a second by Councilman Marlon Lewis. Is there any discussion on this item?
What's the budget for this project?
Paul, you want to come up? I know what it is, but he's here,
Make him earn it.
Yeah.
So this is a capital outlay project that was applied for last year, and the total budget value is $480,000. The
Okay.
requirement for the city is a match of 25%, which is $120,000. So the state's putting up $360,000 for the project. This project is along Fulton Street, called Felicity's Landing. It measures about 121 foot in length, and it's 5 foot wide in depth. The Army Corps of Engineers, this is not the first time a project has been attempted at this location, but we hired Chandler Staples, who did a U.S. Army Corps of Engineer permit, and he got it right, and so they allowed the project to move forward. That was a requirement of the grant for the state as well. And so we also, the sequence of events is not 3 years, it's about 60 days. So we got some really firm pricing. We think the prices that are identified in the scope of work are really good prices. The state's looking for us to give them a budget. We have a really good budget, we think. We're going to be well in budget on this project, if we can get it done within the next 30 days.
Don't jinx
Okay.
it. Don't jinx it.
Yeah, anyway.
Anybody else? Then I'd ask you to please vote your machines. Thank you, Paul.
You have there one more time?
Yeah, you might as well. 6I.
Resolution number 22-194, accepting a certificate of substantial completion for the Little Brooklyn Park Pavilion project and authorizing the mayor to execute any and all documentation in connection therewith.
Do you have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman David Broussard, a second by Councilman Dustin Swear. Any discussion on this item? Dustin?
Yeah, I went to take a look at it the other day. Drove by a few times while I was being in construction. I'm actually very pleased with it. I hope the community of Little Brooklyn is pleased with it. I believe most are. So I just want to thank this council, the mayor, Mr. Allen, everyone involved for making that happen. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
Question?
They're gonna have some relief for the ones riding the bus to get out the weather. Be a good stopping point to pick them up, because you can't go down those narrow roads off of, a lot of narrow roads you can't go down. And I'm retired, I don't have to fight that no more.
I think there was a request to do a little bit of lighting in the pavilion.
That's coming in our next budget.
Yeah.
We got some budget numbers, and in this year's budget coming that we will adopt very soon, we'll be able to do the electrical. We had enough money to put, the prices went up on us, but we had enough to get the pavilion up, but the electrical will be coming in next year's budget.
And I think in your package, you have a list of the items that are outstanding. Amy with Minville Lumber Company has 45 days to take care of this. So right now, we're in the lien period upon acceptance of this document.
You had your hand up?
No.
No, okay. All right. Any other discussion? Then please vote your machines. Thank you. Good project. Good one, Dustin.
Thank you.
That was a big one.
Yeah.
You know? All right. 6J.
Resolution number 22-195, ordering and calling a public hearing to be held on October 18th, 2022, for public comments for the proposed consolidated budget statement for fiscal year 2022-2023.
Do you have a motion?
Second.
Oh, wait, we're postponing this. We got to follow the rules. So Laney has instructed us that we'll wait and do this
On Monday.
on Monday. We're going to have a budget meeting, our first budget meeting on Monday. That's all been advertised. And the way the rules work, at the first budget meeting, we have to adopt this.
Okay.
So since this technically wasn't a budget meeting, you'll be getting your budget books on probably Thursday morning. So that gives us a few days to review them before our Monday meeting. And we have Monday and Tuesday scheduled for budget meetings. Sometimes we do them in one night, sometimes we don't, but I always schedule a couple of nights. We had a few stragglers and a few numbers we didn't have, because I really hoped to give it to you tonight. That's why this was on the agenda. But Kevin and I don't want to give you something that's an incomplete document. So we have a couple of meetings with one department in particular tomorrow morning to help get that finished. And then we had a few straggling numbers. So anyway, but you might get them Wednesday afternoon. At the latest, you'll get them Thursday morning. And so we'll do this at our budget meeting.
Right.
Do we have to vote on postponing?
Vote to postpone or.
I'm not
to,
sure. I'm asking.
Since they made the
RCD.
agenda. They made the agenda.
It is on the agenda, so,
Yeah, I think you ought to postpone it. I don't think you ought to table it.
Yeah.
Just
oh no, I don't want to
postpone
table it.
I make a motion to postpone agenda item, resolution number 22-195.
Okay, I got a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Ricky Gosselin, and who was the second? Okay, Councilman Marlon Lewis. Is there any discussion on this motion? Hearing, seeing none, please vote your machines. Good, thank you. 6K.
Resolution number 22-196, accepting the donation of various equipment from the Iberia Sports Complex Commission for use at the Louisiana Pepperplex, and further authorizing the mayor to execute any documentation in connection therewith.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Mayor Pro Tem Ricky Gosselin, and a second by, I think, Councilman David Broussard. Is there any discussion on this item?
Just a quick thing.
Yes, sir.
I went out there and take a look at some of the equipment, and it's going to be an asset to the city for Richard to use. I think something to start with, and I really appreciate the commission for donating that equipment.
Anything still under warranty?
No, ma'am.
No,
Okay.
ma'am.
No, ma'am. It's all older. Yeah, it's good stuff, though. I mean,
Yeah, it's good stuff.
A couple of lawnmowers, a gator. I mean, it's some good stuff. We will definitely put it to use.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Then I'd ask you to please vote your machines. Thank you. Six L.
Resolution number 22-197, authorizing the mayor to execute the Governor's Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness expedited temporary housing assistance waiver.
Do you have a motion?
Motion. Second.
Motion by Councilwoman DeeDee Johnson-Reed and a second by Councilwoman Brooke Marcotte. All right. Any discussion on this item?
Freddie, you
Yes.
make it very obvious. You look right at me.
Well, I'm sorry. It's all a good thing. This
Okay, so
is-
basically what we're saying here is that we're gonna give a temporary waiver if if a house gets destroyed and they can put a trailer on there or RV until the house is rebuilt.
Well, this is what we're discussing, okay? We
Okay.
didn't, it's not a yes, okay? I mean, it's not a no either. That's why I brought it. If it would be me, I would say no. I mean, you always ask my personal opinion, I always give
Yeah.
it to you. We don't allow trailers in the city, and I'll just tell you what I'm worried about. I allow this to happen, and then I get another hurricane. In other words, we, as a city, we run the shelter, okay? If there's anything in the parish, they all come to Sear Gates. I put all my fire department there on a 24-hour watch, which I'm hoping to correct once we get the new sprinkler system. My police have to be there. We have to put all of our volunteers and all our assets there. So for me, I just worry about the same reason whether people agree with it or don't agree with it, that decision was made a long time ago. We don't have trailers in town, and one of the big reasons why we don't, and a lot of progressive cities don't, is the minute a hurricane's coming, they tell you, seek adequate shelter. So what I don't want is and maybe that's just my personal opinion, that's why it's here. I don't want a flimsy little FEMA trailer sitting there, and then we get another storm, and then I have more people to deal with. And I'm not sure that it doesn't mean that if people are from other areas, that doesn't mean they can set them up here. My city's pretty compact. I don't know where they're gonna put them, and how many am I gonna get? If I knew it was one or two, that'd be okay. If they come in with, 50 trailers and find a place to stick them, when I rode around after all the past hurricanes, those trailers stayed for, months and months. So I don't know if we want to do that or not. But I didn't want to make that decision by myself. I can't. So my attitude was get it over here, do what we always do, and hash it out as a team. Yes, ma'am.
So I understand what you're saying, but I also know that I have a cousin who her house was damaged during the hurricane, and she lives in Lake Charles. They got an RV to put in the yard because they were out of their house for 3 months. So to say somebody's going to be in a shelter for 3 months, that's not their home, and it's like not in their yard. I'm not saying we put them all over the place, but if someone's house has been destroyed or needs some substantial work done, they ought to be able to put one on their property so that they can live on their property until the house is rebuilt. That's just my personal
I
opinion.
understand. My code, Jimmy and I talked about it, and who hooks up the electrical, who hooks up the plumbing, it just does it depends on if we have one or two, it's not a real issue. If we had major devastation, then maybe we would want them, but on the flip side, what I don't want is what I saw after some of the other hurricanes, that it became a big old FEMA camp with, 50, 60, 100 trailers, because then people weren't doing what you're suggesting. They're still not living on their property. They're all corralled in a bad situation. Remember, there was mold in those trailers, and, I don't want to be responsible that I get sued later because, and no offense to FEMA, but, they bring some plastic trailer that, is not up to par, because a nice RV, you can understand that. But they bring something that our people are living in, and then next thing you know, they got mold and issues, and they're going to look at us and say, well, you told us we could bring it. So it's a double-edged sword, but you're right. In a one or two situation, in an RV, if it's nice, but you can't spend 3 months in one of those. I mean, we found that out. People were getting sick. You can't spend 3 months in one of those trailers that they bring.
Okay.
So I didn't
I
know,
know,
like
in
I
like
said,
in my
I
cousin's
brought it here
situation,
because,
yeah.
That's why we're talking about it.
In her
That's what makes
situation,
us a good team.
The insurance company paid for it. And so she was able to keep it on her property while they were working on her house, because they have to provide, in her situation, they have to provide her with lodging. So that was convenient for her, and they had all the electrical, they paid for all of that to get set up and, composting of the toilet, whatever that is. But I guess when I think about what happened in Florida, where they destroyed like hundreds of homes, and they did set up like a FEMA camp, I mean, what happens if we have a bad hurricane and destroys 200 homes here? what do we expect our people to do?
That's why we're having this discussion.
Okay. I just want us to think about that too. I
understand.
mean, we
No,
could have a,
I like to look at the whole picture.
yeah, we have
and I
a
like to
major
hear
storm,
from
we
all of
could
you.
have an issue.
We could. And we could take emergency, we could do an emergency declaration and change whatever we do. In other words, we could make it however we want. We'll make it just for, and I'm not trying to slight anybody. If we want to say it's just for people from Iberia Parish, if we want to say it's just for people in the city, or it's just for property owners in the city, we have opportunity to act after we would have this council,
Yeah.
a majority vote of this council, we can move the ball. So don't think that because we tell FEMA, no, we don't want to do this right now. In other words, if we got a hurricane and 200 houses got wiped out, and that's our people, you know, we're going to have a special meeting and deal with it, but then we deal with it on our terms,
Okay.
was my way of looking at it. But again, you know, I'm just one of the team. Yes, sir.
I agree. I mean, we're still seeing, believe it or not, even after Katrina and Rita, when they came and moved a lot of these camps in, some people took advantage of them, and some people also abused it, and they still have those things out on their properties to this day as their homes. I'm not saying about after Katrina, but, and then another point I believe Ricky was on the Iberia Parish government. I mean, there's a nice park out there out in the parish where we can move some of those trailers out there instead of leaving them in a condensed area, and then they're not going to get picked up. So Lord knows what's going to happen to them. I'm just, like he said, it's a double-edged sword when it comes to to that. So
Okay. Who are they have next to Mr. Broussard?
Like you were saying, Mr. Mayor, we can't be the dumping spot. If other parishes take hard rules about not putting trailers, they're all gonna come to Iberia Parish and put trailers. So you made a point, Iberia Parish citizens, on our, if we make a ruling, Iberia Parish citizens, we'll take care of them. We'll put a few trailers out if you can prove.
I just don't want to
Doing
get
our
swamped
very
with people
parish.
from other areas, and then
And,
our people need something.
If other ones take rulings that they can't put trailers, they're gonna come where they can put trailers. And if we don't make a ruling on something a little bit, to where we don't get dumped on all the way around the state coming out Iberia Parish. You know, so I think you had that, you mentioned that if it's just for Iberia Parish citizens or their family, come and enjoy us.
Yes, sir.
So basically, what the situation presents is that if you're ever familiar with government and hurricanes, if a hurricane hits, big contractors come out and they look for cities that approve temporary waiver assistance. And they bring in blocks of trailers because you approved that waiver assistance. So that, and then once you approve it, you really have no control over it. The landowner that has a piece of property in the city can approve it because you already approved the waiver. So you can put 50 trailers right in your city if you approve this. So I think the route the city, the way I feel the route the city should take is that if something should happen to our residents in Parish, we can come in and make emergency declaration on a site-specific location that those trailers for our residents can be used. And we can accommodate the same goal by protecting our citizens, then opening it to the state or the federal government to come put trailers in our city. Is the way I'm looking at it.
Yes, sir.
And still provide for our citizens.
Rick answered my question. I was, basically trying to understand what the state was asking us, and basically asking us to allow anybody to come and put trailers or temporary housing in our community. But in lieu of that, we can do an emergency declaration to take care of our people. So in other words, if there's a hurricane in Homer, if we opt in, then we
I'm
have
afraid,
to.
what I don't
we
know,
have
I didn't
to
see any
accept
protection. Yeah,
If
I didn't see
someone
any
has
protection.
property in the city, enough for say 10 mobile homes or temporary housing, we have to accept them, because it's gonna be a money-making thing for that
For somebody.
land, for that landowner, right?
And for the contractors that go get the
Contractors,
trailers.
okay.
And my thing is, 2 weeks later, I got something here in New Iberia, I let my people down. I was the way I looked at it, you know, I was like, oh, okay, what if, there aren't really a whole lot of spots in our city, you know, and so somebody comes and sets them all up and they're making money in a month. Look at the years we had 3 and 4 hurricanes in a row. I mean, since I've been the mayor, we've had that. So, anyway, I just wanted to hear from all of you. I mean, I asked Laney what I have to do. She said, if you don't sign it, it's dead. If, you know, or, you know, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I'll bring it to my council because we need to talk about it. But I've been kicking this around, you know, for the last few days trying to figure out what's the best answer. for, the people we represent.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
We don't have any space, like you said. The parish does have some space, if they want to be open to doing that, but that's not us. So, I definitely wouldn't want to be left over with all this clutter in the city as well, but I'm on board with emergency declaration if needed, which is, I hope we don't ever need to do that, but
I do too.
it's good to know that we
But I
have
mean,
the
would I help-
opportunity to do
And it's
it.
not just because the mayor of Jeanerette's here. Would I help the people in Jeanerette and Delcombe and Laurelville? Yeah, I mean, that's all our people. Can I say I'm gonna help everybody all over the state? No, I mean, I'm stretching, New Iberia I need to do for my people, and then I feel a responsibility for, the communities that I work really well with, but how far do you extend that? I can't, my budget's not unlimited.
Right.
Our budget is not unlimited, so, where you draw the line? I think you draw the line to people that elect you, and the people that, that you work with. Anyway, that's just my opinion. But I wasn't gonna tell anybody yes or no without talking to y'all.
So I guess when I read this, it didn't sound exactly like you guys said. When I read it, it sounded like they were saying they could put it on the, next to the dwelling that was damaged. So it sounded like it was just the person, like if Marlo's house is messed up, then he can go put
Right.
a RV on his property. I didn't read it as if anybody could come
I felt
in.
like once you approve it for your city, it's approved.
Okay, well, that's
I
just
don't
not, how-
really,
and maybe I misinterpreted, but
FEMA
that's
is
not
a-
what I read. I didn't read
FEMA
that.
we need FEMA, I'm not knocking them, but that's, ask Laney, she's doing all the
Yeah.
FEMA stuff. FEMA's an animal.
And I'm not saying, I'm just saying that's not what
Yeah,
I
I
read. When I saw what it said to opt in for, and what you were opting in was to put it by your house, on your property,
Yeah.
that sounded reasonable to me.
I understand.
Smith, but in that event, we can declare emergency declaration
I'm gonna turn to our city attorney to make
and
sure
allow
that-
someone to put a
I think we could for a time limit.
RV or whatever.
Right.
They set on rules.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we can. I can ask our city attorney, so you hear it from him.
Let's see. Well, it does say directly adjacent to the disaster survivors damaged dwelling.
See, that's what I read. That's why,
I did read that, but I just got scared I was opening up a big door.
But I don't know why we couldn't do it later.
Okay. If you tell me we can do it later, like I think we can.
As far as I
I'm
know, yeah.
comfortable. That makes me more comfortable that I know I'm not, well, then we do it by our own rules. But we would, we would do it. I mean, you can book it that we're not gonna leave our people, with, nothing. Yes, sir.
So you're basically saying a case-by-case basis?
Yeah, yeah. In other words, I mean, if we have 20 homes that are damaged beyond repair and those people have no place to go.
And
then-
you're gonna pick and
then
choose,
we're gonna
you
say
got
what
somebody
we do.
pick and choose,
But
okay,
I
they
don't
can have a
think we're
RV or
gonna
they can't.
Just blanket do it, because then we write back, we just soon say yeah on this. In
Yeah.
other words, I think that you got to assess the situation, which we do. I mean, the PD's around the town the whole time the hurricane's going on. I'm here, my staff is here, Jimmy's here, Public Works is out cleaning the roads as soon as they can. It's not difficult to assess where the damage is. I mean, my phone is going off or I'm riding around. We see the whole town after the hurricane, and we have contracts with contractors to pick up the debris. So I'm constantly getting reports back. We're gonna know. I mean, there's times that after the hurricane, it's the same day, and I know, okay, a tree fell on this trailer, we got this problem, we got that problem. And then you try to hook up with emergency preparedness for the parish, because we fall under them. And then I immediately report to them, and then they go out and assess. And so, I mean, the game starts, the hurricane's not even really finished, and we're assessing the situation. But, so we're gonna know where the damage is and how much we have. What we don't wanna open the door to is just, you can't blame property owners, I'm a property owner, I just don't wanna open the door that somebody sees the opportunity to say, well, yeah, it's not next door, but it's right over here. And then we end up with, too many. Yes, sir.
Do we have to vote on this tonight?
I don't know what the deadline is to turn in the paperwork.
September 1st.
I think the deadline's here. I mean, I wanted to bring it to the council meeting, so I'm supposed to tell them yes or no quickly.
September 1st.
Yeah.
Oh, September 1st.
Yeah, but I didn't have a council meeting on September 1st, I had it tonight. This was something we had to talk about.
Oh,
Or as soon as possible after.
Yeah.
They said that.
No, yeah.
ASAP.
I know y'all already.
This was I did, and I figured that gave me till a council meeting. I mean, I'm not gonna make a decision without y'all. And I don't think it's fair to each one of you or to the public. This is where we're the strongest. When the group dynamics kicks in and we all bring up points and everybody's together, I'm not gonna just call you on the phone and say, hey, what you think? This is where we work the best, so I figured
Well-
it said, or as soon as possible, they could wait.
Yeah.
You're
And
not
my
doing-
suggestion is we postpone this till the next meeting and find out when we can make the choice. If we can do it later, that's fine, but this talks about municipalities and parishes having the choice once a year. So I don't know if we can undo something
Okay?
if we do it. I just don't know. And it cites a statute that I don't think any of us have looked at. So my suggestion is we postpone this decision to the next council meeting.
Okay.
I won't be here.
Dustin? Yeah, Janet.
Another question. So basically, if the governor declares it a disaster or emergency, this is when this kicks in. If we were to opt into this, so whenever the governor does declare, say, Iberia Parish,
Yeah, we,
state of
all of the
emergency.
FEMA, any of the help, all that has to
so
happen.
they can just, so
Without
then,
the governor's declaration, we don't have anything.
Can I make?
so it wouldn't even be so in other words, it wouldn't even, be our discretion. It'll be the FEMA or state government.
Yeah, and they can make other decisions. When you sign
Correct.
that,
Yeah, so they can make
I
other
think-
other decisions based
I
on.
guess it says right next to the dwelling, but when the state kicks in and says, this is it, and that town approved it, they can make other decisions
Yeah,
for us.
they override.
we
They
have
can
to bring them
override us.
back?
I don't think so, not the way I've seen, I'm not being ugly, but not the way I've seen them operate before.
But based on what is in front of us today, it looks like it's only for a person they would be able to put it next to their dwelling. So that's the question that we have to answer today. But we don't, Jeff is saying, let's wait to make
Yeah,
sure.
because that state statute might say something else.
Yeah, so we just need more information.
Okay. Yes.
So my concern is, and if you read the application process, and it says the governing authority has submitted a certification to GOSEP that the local governing authority will waive any land use regulations relative to permitting a mobile home, any land use. So that opens it to any land use relative to
it
mobile
did.
homes. And it's a really open-ended, so I concur with Jeff on what he's saying, but I think this opens the door for.
Right at the beginning, when I read that, that's when I said, "Oh, we got to talk about this."
So I think we need to proceed with caution with this, and whether that's a postponement and reevaluate it, I'm fine with that, but we really need to understand what we're voting on.
Yeah, because, I mean, at the bottom, when you read the opt-in, it's something different, so we need more information before we make a final decision.
And Rick, just what you just read, it says the parish governing authority.
Parish, we operate under the state
Under,
parish.
when, in a state of emergency.
That's right, that's
All right.
correct.
So if we don't opt in and the parish does,
Then they would go wherever they opt in. Like if the city of Lowerville, Jeanerette, or Delcom opt in,
Okay.
they'd go there. If the parish government opts in, they'd go in the parish.
So since we're in the parish, that wouldn't force us to.
that's what I'm saying.
I don't think so.
That's
I
what
think
I'm
that's
asking.
why-
I'm-
Yeah,
That's a good question.
No, I don't think so. I think we govern ourselves. I think that in that way, I think if we say no, it's no.
That's a good question, though.
That is a good. I mean, 'cause we were
Because
within
the parish takes over in state of
But the
emergency. I
parish
learned
takes-
that during COVID, so.
They take over, but then, and look, I love my parish, I love my peeps. They take over, but then they try to say, okay, city police, you're gonna, like the parish president has put curfews that we didn't agree with. We got together, we enforced our own curfew with our own hours. There were times that people couldn't go
I
to
remember
work.
that.
We said, okay, we're not doing that. We're gonna let our people go to work. So your curfew starts at 6. City police, we're enforcing it at 7. We run the shelter. So people come from all over the parish to come to Sear Gates. Well, then when they get there, yes, they're in there working and we, all of our first responders are great, but it's our building and our shelter. And even though they're in it, they take over it, but in some ways it's still ours and we're responsible for it. So they follow our rules. In other words, the parish at times tells us, we need you to do this, that, the other thing, but they don't have the people to do it. It's all everybody on my payroll. It's all everybody on your payroll. It's all city people. So because of that, there are instances that we're not trying to be a rebel, but there are times that, my police chief, my fire chief, we sit down, we get together, And we make the decisions based on what our people are gonna do. Just like we go get people out of the water. We got, the fire department got a rescue truck, and we have 2 Humvees. Well, the big rub every storm is we pick people up, and the shelter's not open yet, because it's all after storm event. You can't have a shelter before storm. Well, then every year we get in a debate, okay, what am I supposed to do with these people? Well, there's no place for them to go. I'm going to kick a door. I'm going to take one of our buildings. I'm opening it up and getting those people out of the way. They said, oh, you can't do that till after the storm. Well, what am I supposed to do with those people? So we make our own plan, and we come up as we're going to do, because we fish people out of the water. And after we get them, and you think it doesn't happen, it happens in the West End, it happens in Southport, and we got to go get people. Once we go get them, we find a place to put them. And that's not really what the rules say we're supposed to be doing, but what the hell am I going to do? Ride around with them in my Humvee all night? I mean, you can't do that. So there are times that we make decisions as a municipality and as a group of people who got to get something done, that we just do it.
Do we know if the parish is going to opt in?
I have no clue.
Okay. Can we find out the answer to that question as well?
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, it would be nice to know so that we can kind of,
I
instead of there
understand.
being a conflict, maybe we could be
Okay.
consistent
Like I
with each
said,
other.
I read that language, and I said, I ain't doing this by myself.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
I say if we don't know, we don't waive.
That's it, yeah,
that's right.
yeah. Okay, well then let's,
I'll check on that.
if that's, if someone, I need a motion to postpone it.
Motion for
A second.
postpone.
Oh, thank you. So I have a motion by Councilman Marlon Lewis to postpone, and a second by Councilwoman DeeDee Johnson-Reed. And, is there any further discussion?
I'll take a look at the statute.
Okay.
I don't think we got the complete site anyway.
Okay.
I don't think they got all the numbers there.
All right, then, I'd ask you please vote your machines. Great discussion. I knew it would be, but this is important. I mean, we gotta get it right, and I can't do that by myself. But also don't know what number we're on. Oh, let's see. 6M, all right. Man, we never gonna get out the sixes. Whew.
Resolution number 22-198, requesting financial assistance from the state of Louisiana under the fiscal year 2022-2023 Local Government Assistance Program.
All right, do I have a motion?
Second.
Motion by Councilman Broussard, and a second by Councilwoman Brooke Marcotte. Is there any discussion on this LGAP?
So what are they, excuse me, what can the grants be used for again?
We normally use the L grant money for equipment in
Okay.
all the various departments.
Okay,
So over, and I might get it wrong, our clerk can correct me if I do, we're waiting for approval. We're waiting on an invoice. We can't even pay the bill because they won't send us the invoice. I have to have the invoice to spend $30,000 of LGAP from a couple of years ago. That's buying a mini excavator. Then the next year's LGAP buys 2 lawnmowers and a truck, and that year we
Right.
said would go to the Pepperplex.
Right.
I can't spend that till they clear up the one, you can only have 2 open. This one, we haven't discussed what we're gonna do with this one yet.
Okay.
I normally pick a department that needs equipment and that needs something, and that's where it goes. So I can't spend this one until I spend the other 2. So we have a little while to discuss, you know, I'll bring to you like I normally do what I would like to do with it. And, but I haven't done that yet because I can't even spend the last 2. So,
Okay. That makes sense.
we are trying to get the invoice now so that we can clear that $30,000 one up, and then I'll come back to y'all and say, this is what I would like to do with the money.
okay.
Other questions or discussion? Then I'd ask you to please vote your machines. Thank you. 6N.
Resolution number 22-199, accepting capital outlay funding for Facility Planning and Control Project 50-ML1-22-05, Sear Gate Sprinkler System, Planning and Construction, and designating Jane Bro to act on behalf of the City of New Iberia in all matters pertaining to this project, as well as authorizing the mayor to negotiate any and all contracts or documentation in connection therewith.
Do I have a motion?
Move.
Motion by, I think, Councilman Dustin Swear, and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Ricky Gonsalas. Any discussion on this item? Quite fortuitous. This is our sprinkler system that will allow us to be a shelter and not have to keep my fire department there for 24 hours a day.
Question. That
Yes.
should be bidded out in 2022 sometime, maybe in 2023 install.
Paul, when do you think we'll bid this out?
Probably within the next 45 days.
Okay.
Yeah, we got pricing already from a
Yeah.
contract.
So
Yeah.
maybe
got
installation,
budgets.
It's
maybe
just-
installation in 23?
Sir?
Maybe installation in 23, or maybe this latter part this year?
No, it should be this year.
This year?
It's the same process you go over with capital outlay. You have to define the scope of work, like Freddie's talking about, put together a budget, send it to facility planning and control for their review. This is a cooperative endeavor agreement, so they got to assign an architect with facility planning and control to work with us. Then we have a meeting with that architect, and then we kind of go over the rules and regs, and then the timeline is set, contracts are signed, and then you're allowed to proceed with the project. So I'm thinking 45 days minimum.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Any further questions, comments? And I'd ask you to vote your machines. Thank you. Thank you. 6-0.
Resolution number 22-200, accepting capital outlay funding for facility planning and control project 50-ML1-22-04, Little Brooklyn Park Planning and Construction, and designating Jane Brotact on behalf of the City of New Iberia in all matters pertaining to this project, as well as authorizing the mayor to negotiate and execute any and all contracts or documentation in connection therewith.
Do you have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Dustin Swear and a second by Councilman Marlon Lewis. Any discussion on this item? And this is one that has other steps coming, because the Little Brooklyn Park, the property needs to be donated. They have raised money that is not in the budget to do the demo of the building that they're donating, because the building needs to come down. So the only way we would take the donation was if they tore the building down, or at least provided the funds to do that. So once we get rolling on that, that'll be the first step that happens. I wanted to make sure that our money was lined up, because I'm not taking a building that they tear down and expect me to build a park if I don't have the money. So that's one that will be a few more steps that will be coming to you before we can actually kind of really get moving on it. Just so you know.
That's that brick building on that
Yes.
corner?
Yes.
That's what they're gonna use for the bus turnaround or what have
That's the
you?
bus stop. That's
Okay,
gonna
that's the bus
basically
stop.
be a little neighborhood bus stop and a little small park. Any other questions?
So Brooklyn gonna have two parks?
The park was on Johnson Alley was Johnson Alley Park, and now it's called they'll basically have
That's
two
cool.
parks. Yeah, it is kind of neat.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So now, I'm going back to Mr. B, they're not gonna have to use the new canopy for the kids with the buses, they can actually have a bus
Right.
stop
Yeah.
in Little Brooklyn.
Because they
Two
can't go down
locations
there.
is so far away, they could use one at your canopy and one at the building, 'cause they
No,
have to walk far.
the bus can't go down the street, but they can't,
Yeah.
you can't turn around. It can't
Yeah.
turn around.
Maybe
Yeah.
Mr. B could have back, but,
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know.
he could probably turn around.
And Mayor, it's predominantly a bus stop, but it's gonna be,
It's like a little neighborhood
Maintained
park. In
by-
other words, Parks and Rec are gonna have it, it will be a park.
okay.
But it has a canopy for the kids to get under, but it's a little neighborhood park.
Well, we'll have
Kind of
some,
what we envision happening all over the place.
Okay.
We have the park coming on Ann Street. We have, I think that this is an ongoing thing that, I don't think this is an isolated thing that it'll be the only one.
Right.
But that neighborhood association raised money, found a way to get a property owner to donate property, raise money to tear the building down, which isn't cheap. It's probably $12,000 to tear the building down. So all those things are coming together, and I kind of think it's a model for what we might be able to do,
do we have an idea what's gonna be in that park other than that?
Oh, yeah, we have a little schematic design. because
Okay.
They have to agree. They had an architect, very talented person, and they did a design, but it's too much.
Okay.
In other words, I can't spend that much. So we toned it down a bit, but kept the same principles and the same, function of it. But it's more in line with what we do in our parks. And so we have a budget. We couldn't ask for the money or do anything, like that if we didn't have a schematic design and a budget. And it's gonna be very nice. Anybody else? Then I'd ask you to please vote your machines. Thank you. Oh, we made it to the sevens. Damn. Oh, excuse me. 7A.
Introduction of ordinance number 2022-19, an ordinance amending approved budget allocations for American Rescue Plan Act funds received by the City of New Iberia, Amendment Number 4, and setting for public hearing on September 20th, 2022.
Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Motion by Mayor Pro Tem Ricky Gonsalas and a second by Councilwoman Brooke Markcott. Is there any discussion on this item?
I had a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I was looking at the park for Bank Street Park.
Yes, ma'am.
And it doesn't list a whole lot of things except lighting and the walking track.
It's because we can't, we can only spend ARPA money. All of these ARPA projects have a description, and you can only spend the money on certain things. So we had to pull from the water sector, and we had to pull from the energy efficient area. So all the lighting's LED, any walking paths have to be environmentally friendly and drain. So of that money, there's really only certain things we can do in the parks.
Okay.
Now, where you benefit, it didn't make it, it's in priority 5. But you have, for your park, another $500,000 that'll get funded next year. That can be more creative.
Okay.
And do other things. So what we're doing, same thing in West End Park. Same thing at Sear Gates. We're spending the money where we can of the ARPA that fits those descriptions. And then we've asked capital outlay, it's kind of a double dip, but we've asked capital outlay for money that we could do other things. But I can go, and you don't have a community center. Like at the West End and City Park, I'll be able to go in and change lighting. I'll be able to go in and do other things that fit under that sector that you have to justify the money from ARPA. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I have a question. So the lighting throughout the park, are we including the field lighting also?
We're looking at what we can afford. In other words, Paul and his team have put together, which I'll be bringing it pretty soon. We made a few little bitty minor changes. We're putting together a master study for Bank Park, a master study for West End Park, and for Sear Gates, but it didn't need it as much at Sear Gates. But that will reflect everything that needs to be done. And then what I'm doing is making the money fit where it can. But if we have enough money to change ball field lighting, we can justify it and say we're going to LED. But I don't want to sit here and say that all of a sudden both fields at Bank Park, some of them you have rotten poles, some of them you have other issues. Well, I don't want to change and put a new fixture on a rotten pole. I want to go do something that is quality and that I spent the money wisely. But that's the reason we're looking at these parks globally, because there's so much to do. I want to make sure that we spend the money wisely. But could we do lighting on a ball field? Yes, we can. But I'm not sure that that'll happen in this round.
Okay, that's the question. I mean, I get it asked a lot.
Oh, I know. And I mean, people think that we can spend this money any kind of way. We got very creative with our plan, but our plan is dictated by the federal government of what I can do with it. Anyway, yes, ma'am.
So I was looking at the disbursements. I know we got the first disbursement last year for the 5.2 million. So we didn't get the second one in
We're
May?
waiting any day now. We passed the test. We good. We did our reports. It's all, we're clear to get it. We've been waiting on it. And so is everybody else.
Okay, so they haven't issued
No, maybe the federal government
disbursement.
figured with those billions and billions of dollars, they figured out a way to make something on it before they give it to us. But they have held it, when we were supposed to get it, I think in May.
Yeah, May.
So they have held it a lot longer. I'm sure they're putting it to good use.
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah, we're waiting on it. But we are cleared for it because Laney checks on that often.
Okay, all right, so
Yeah.
it's still coming, okay.
I want to get it, yes. And it's the other reason that I have not held back, but I didn't go crazy with the first allotment, because, you know, really all we did so far, out of memory, is the fire truck, the street sweeper, and we bought a school, okay? And other than that, we haven't gotten too crazy with it because I wanted to see the money. I'd like to see that other check.
Yeah, I agree.
Right.
Anybody else?
So we did get the fire truck, right? The area fire truck?
Yeah, it's not here. The ladder truck, it's not in yet. Probably the end of the year, the beginning of next year. The street sweepers may be another month, we're hoping, month and a half.
Okay.
But yeah, we ordered that right away. I mean, that was $1 million truck that, our other truck is 43 years old, so it's not like we didn't need it. But we ordered that immediately that we could.
So have we started the West End Park splash pad extension?
That is going. The dirt work is done, not quite finished. Again, the rain has killed them. But we went in and degrassed it all, and I just need a few dry days to get the dirt in and finish the dirt pad. The contractor has ordered materials. Things are ready to go. When is their start date, Paul?
They're supposed to actually have started already after the.
Yeah, as soon as the pad's
school
finished.
started. But the pad, we're waiting on the pad, as
Yeah.
you said. Mother Nature has not been cooperative.
Yeah, it's been raining a lot.
Unfortunately.
No.
Yeah.
But it's almost ready to go, and that is the other project that we
I
moved
thought
on.
we were ready to start that one, that's
We
what I'm
are.
asking.
We are.
Yeah.
You good for cost language?
Yes, sir.
This is all money being already allocated and being spent?
That money we have allocated as a team, that's what we want to do.
Right.
Some of the architecture has been let, so those plans are being worked on, and we're proceeding at spending it. and we haven't spent it all yet. It's gonna take a
But
couple.
again, all of the West End money is already allocated,
Oh, yeah, we're
right?
not, after we did the plan and voted on it, because of course, as you can expect, having publicized that we only have a half of it, but that we have $10.4 million, everybody in their world tries to get some of that money and change the plan, and we said from the beginning, that plan is set. So we're not deviating from it, it's just gonna take a while, to get it all going. We have 4 years total, but things are in the works, I mean, it's underway.
Quick question, West End Park expansion.
That is buying the school, because
Okay.
that made the
Yeah.
park bigger. That is doing some work in the school. I can't do everything I want to do, but that makes a little senior citizen center out of a couple of rooms, because the park doesn't have that. I want us to have that. That gives an area for the police, for them to do training. That gives some storage for some other departments, gets a lot of coming and going. And so that's the first phase, but we called it a park expansion because by buying the school,
Right.
it's adjacent to the park, that let us add on to the park.
Right.
Because when I hear expansion, I'm thinking about that wooded area we talked about.
Dude, man,
Get that and
that's
turn that
one
into
that half the family would
Trail.
donate it to,
Walking
beautiful
trail.
piece of property, man. The
Yep.
trees in there are great. Half the family would donate it, another family member doesn't want to, but then he hasn't been paying his taxes, so I don't know, I'm trying to figure that one out. That one's kind of a puzzle. But nice piece of property. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I do have one request. For the city park upgrades, we're demolishing the pool, which was, I agree with you, that's a good thing. But I just want to make it, I guess for the record, that I would like to see a kiosk or something put up where the old pool house was, because that is a pretty, I guess, an old building that's well-known throughout our community. And once you get rid of it, it's no longer there. I think some kind of, maybe an old picture of the pool house back when it was thriving. I'm sure you've got plenty.
Yeah, I can't agree more. And I've been working with Councilwoman Dee Dee Johnson-Reed on some bronze plaques with some of the money she has left. And we can't afford the big state plaque, but we
No,
found a little kind of shrunk down model, but it has some dignity. It's gonna last long after we're gone. And so I had already kind of thought we would use those. That's gonna kind of become a little city plaque that we do, because we're looking at doing some in the West End that document history, kind of like the boxes we wrapped and stuff. That's not
Yeah.
permanent. That's something cool, but it's not permanent.
Right.
So we've been looking, she was offering to use the money that she has left. You had kind of mentioned that to me, and I thought, man, this would be cool. So I can tell you that'll come, because I do think a lot of people took swimming lessons at that park. A lot of people are connected to it.
Swim meets.
Why not tell the story,
Yeah.
Man, I lived there.
Yeah, I know you did. But
And well,
anyway,
just for clarification, it's not just gonna be in the West End?
no, that's right. No, I
Yeah.
want to use, that's kind of
It's gonna
becoming
be,
my.
yeah,
We
throughout
researched
District
it. I
5.
want it to
Right.
be, well, it's going to be the little city plaque. In other words.
Right, that's what I'm
well,
talking about, but
yeah.
I don't want my constituents to feel
Oh,
like
I
I'm just doing
understand.
it on that side of
I
town. I'm
understand.
doing it
No.
on both sides.
That's fine. Well, and globally,
plaque
it's something
deal.
that I'd like to see happen, in all our districts. We all got history. We all got, we all connected here. We all got threads of memory that need to be, protected.
Right.
Anybody else?
But since you mentioned the pool, we no longer have
I know.
a city pool, right? Okay.
Now, there is a plan in the future, and we had talked about that before, that is something that, it's time for me to start working on capital outlay. That's one of the questions I'm going to have very quickly. We had said if we did a pool, that it would go to the new part of Bank Park, because remember, we've added on to Bank Park now, and we'll enter from Admiral Doyle. And that was a good center of town location, and it wasn't who had a pool before, and it didn't bring up a whole lot of issues, but we had talked about that possibility because we got a whole lot of kids that don't know how to swim.
That's
And-
right.
And as not having a pool for now quite a few years, that's something that's lacking in our community.
Absolutely.
All the kids could get to Bank Park. It's not West End, it's not Sear Gates. So we actually, in the master plan that's gonna be coming pretty soon, we showed a new pool in Bank Park. And it is time for capital outlay, and that's the kind of questions, I know I have more things that we would need to do at the Pepperplex, but I also know we have, and we seem to be, our capital outlay the last few years, we've been blessed, and it's due to your hard work. We're fixing our sewer system, we're fixing our roads, we have an idea to the voters that won't be a new tax, that could really fix our roads. So we are unique that we don't need to spend that money on infrastructure, we need to keep developing our quality of life for our citizens. So we, this year, asked for a lot of capital outlay, married a bunch of ARPA money, to do in our parks. Same thing can happen again. So that's coming to y'all as very shortly as a discussion, because I talked to Richard Minville and it's time to get on capital outlay. But, taking over the Pepperplex, I think is huge. I also think that, a pool would be something that would be a game changer for us. Anyway.
And Mayor, I mention that because we don't do this often, but this is a healing moment, because, we went through the whole, why did they close the black pool down? And the last council got a lot of flack from closing it down, and I tell people they voted unanimously to close it down. It wasn't a whole lot of fight. And I also.
Before any of us were here.
Before any of us got here.
Just make that clear.
And I had an opportunity at the time that they were closing it to sit on the Parks and Recreation Board, and we toured the pools, and the prediction was that they was gonna eventually be closing this park down. And, of course, you can't go in the public and advocate or, debate about, the black and white issue, and when one is still open. So now, the wear and tear on both of them has caught up. So now we at even keel right now. So next time we get a pool, we're gonna make sure it take care of the whole community.
That's what I'm trying to do.
And not to mention, I also traveled around the country with NeighborWorks America and rubbed elbows with a lot of communities. And at that time, a lot of communities were closing pools down because of the insurance and because of the cost to maintenance and the cost to reinvest in an old pool.
Right.
And so I was like, man, I can't go argue with people about that. And I hear it, but what we see is what we got. And today we don't have no pool, so we even again.
Right.
For a little while.
And that's why I'm trying to do something that is good for the whole town. I'm the mayor for the whole town. And I see we missing on swim meets, we missing on our local kids learn how to swim, we missing on that recreation opportunity in the summer. So if we can figure out a way to do it and hopefully get some money from the state to build it, why not do it?
Yeah.
Anyway. Okay, back on what we're on. Any other discussion? Then I'd ask the voting machines. Thank you. 7B.
Introduction of ordinance number 2022-20, an ordinance accepting the proposal from Pelican Waste and Debris for solid waste services in the city of New Iberia and authorizing the mayor to execute any and all contracts and documentation in connection therewith, and setting for public hearing on September 20th, 2022.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Marlon Lewis and a second by Councilman David Broussard. Put the bids in your packet, and it's a request for a proposal. Looking at them, being a contractor, I know that a request for proposal, you can negotiate. You don't always, I looked at it and I picked the lowest bidder. And the way I looked at it, and I'm asking you to do the same or tell me why you won't, Pelicans was low. And in addition to that, Pelicans agreed to pick up the bulky waste every week and had no additional charge. That's what really made them low. And if they're willing to do that, that is very important to me, because what I find picking it up every other week, those piles grow and grow and grow, and people put things they're not supposed to. They put tires, they put every kind of crazy thing in them, and then we can't pick them up, and then that is one of my biggest complaints. I happen to be the mayor pro tem when we picked it up every week, and I was here, and I was a dummy, because I and everybody else voted to do it every 2 weeks. And, looking back since I became the mayor, that's one of the stupidest votes I ever made, because it has done nothing but cause problems and make our community look bad. But I never thought we'd get to afford to do it, but we put it as an alternate. And so that's what propelled them to really be low. So I brought the bids to you tonight so we could discuss it. Yes, sir. Hand your hand up first.
Hey, yeah, my question is not about the dollar amount. My question is about the manpower that the Pelican have. I'm sure we all getting the same calls and same questions about why this is not getting paid. It's been a month and yada yada. And I understand there's two different sides of the story. Sometimes it's not always Pelican's fault. I totally understand that. But do they have the manpower to do it once a week? That's the question I have.
Well,
And we're gonna go and the only thing I'm scared of is to go and say vote on their proposal, which is great, but then they don't actually have the manpower to pick it up every week like they're proposing. So is there any type of penalty involved? Is there any type of?
that's where I'm heading.
Okay.
Okay, and I'm not trying to beat up my low contractor. Okay, I've been a contractor for 30-something years. That's the happiest days when you're the low bidder, and it's not always happy when you sign a contract. But this is the deal. Okay, we had penalties in our other contracts. We had, I'm not naming or bashing anybody, because everybody's done a good job for us. They really have. You know, there were times when I got here that I had $25,000 in penalties that I could assess on one of our garbage contractors. I pulled him in. I used it as a hammer. I said, you know, I'm going to bury the hatchet, but I'm leaving the handle sticking out. And if it don't get better, I'm going to pop you for $25,000. It ended up that at that time, they kind of picked their game up and it got better. Well, I didn't have to do that. Contracts they go with, you know, the knife cuts both ways. It has to. So I've got an attorney that I trust, and we're going to put together a contract, and it's going to have penalties if they don't. They gave us a good price. We've already been talking a little bit. I didn't want to do too much without y'all, but, you know, I know that we need, the Pelicans does one thing for us right now. They have the hurricane cleanup contract, and they pick up the bulky waste. And there has been some issues. I'm not going to candy coat it. When we call Coshoney or we call Tommy T, it gets handled. And for the most time, it does. There are times that I think we've self-inflicted ourselves with the problem of picking up every other week, and those piles get all mixed up, and then there's a big debate over who's going to pick what up. We also have issues that our citizens cut trees way too big, or they get a contractor who's supposed to haul that off, and then they don't, and they pile it up, and then it becomes a big debate over, you know, if it's part of the contract. So I didn't know it would work out that way, but the idea of having one contractor who does everything, that contract's going to try to cover all the bases and have some catch-alls that make sure that, you know, what we need gets done. So what does our attorney say on every deal? We got to have an out clause. I can tell you we'll have an out clause. In other words, we have to. It's a 10-year contract, but there's going to have to be some milestones that we make sure are met. Their price is good, and I know I'm not supposed to only look at price, and I'm not. Their price fits in. You know, we had the weirdest contract in the state. We had a contract that it went by how much we collect. How much revenue we bring is how much we pay. So the one fund that was never low was the garbage fund. I could go to sleep at night and not worry about that because we had this contract. And no one's going to sign that in this day and age. Okay, I don't know why somebody signed it the first time. So that went away. The prices we got fit well into, you know, what our tax collects. So that's step one. Step one is, can you afford it? Step two, and I don't disagree, and that's why we're talking, we have to have some parameters of service that make sure that we're getting what we need. I think that when you give a contractor one, you know, my jobs, when I go to the big contract gets service the best. I'm sorry, you know, or I don't take other jobs is what I do. I'm a small company. So I'll decide, okay, I can make my overhead and my profit here. I'm putting all my eggs in that basket. I'm gonna service that client. And there are times I just don't take other work because I know I gotta service them. So the way I'm looking at this is they gotta step their game up, but I'm stepping it up for them because we would be giving them a big contract. So with the community that they get to pick up everything, I expect that they, you know, treat us like they're picking up everything. Right. If that makes any sense. Yeah, you still have the floor.
And I agree with you 100%. I'm not here to pick on Pelicans.
No,
that's not what we're doing. It's just apples to apples, trying to see to make sure that we are
I
making the
understand.
best
We all
decision.
this is a big deal for us, and we all got concerns. I mean, we all get the calls. They all
Yeah.
They all land at my office at some point, but you get them before me. The one thing I never forget is every call they call City Hall, they called one of y'all.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's, you know, we in the same boat.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah, you just got to bail with me, not against me. We in the same boat. You got to help me bail it out.
Oh, okay, got you.
Glad to have that. Yes, sir.
So I read through the parameters of what we're discussing on the waste, and I think from my perspective, what I see, the service we have now is starting to trickle in a negative way, I think, in collection for the issues I'm getting called upon. So I think a lateral move and getting out of a contract that we have that's based on the tax collection now, moving into a new contract that's relatively close in cost and not a big escalation in these economic times is a win for the taxpayers. And like I said, we just need to make sure the service agreement is what we needed and that we tight on it. And I know every time I called and requested something from Pelican, it was Johnny on the spot. So I'm excited about the communication. What I am concerned about is, have we agreed on a dispatcher locally? Or are we still calling their main office?
I want to have somebody local, and I would like to not call Homer.
I would
when
too.
I get the local people, like I said, Coshoney or Tommy T, they own it.
Right.
But when I called the call center, and that's no offense to them, at first they said they didn't even have a contract here. So I was like, wait, you got, something's wrong, and I didn't call the wrong number. So one thing that I do want to put in there is
Yeah, I think
that
so.
we have a local call center, that we have somebody local, and our stuff stops coming out of home. Because I do think part of the disconnect has been that.
Right.
In my opinion, anyway, what my staff tells me and what I've experienced. So that is one thing. And like I said, we got to sit down and talk. This is the first step. The first step is you saying, okay, let's do
Negotiate.
this, and this is what we're doing, and you give me the authorization to negotiate like you always do. And then I'm gonna sit down and come up with, and I'll take any of your suggestions and come up with some parameters, for our contract.
Since I still have the floor, but I do think.
you do.
I do
Keep
think
going.
2 collections, collecting every week on roadside debris, I think that
Oh, yeah.
dramatically improves the cleanliness of our city if handled correctly, because I do see people wanting their yard side waste picked up every day, and that's a lot of my calls, so I think just that move in itself is gonna make a big difference in our community, if addressed, accurately.
Yes, sir.
Cul-de-sacs, dead-end roads, that's where I'm getting my calls from. They need to really upstage their pickup. They used to have a pickup truck. The Gardens had a person ahead go up 3 blocks ahead of the pickup people and go down all these roads and call them up and tell them where the piles are. We have trouble with cul-de-sacs and dead-end roads, and I've seen that pickup.
That's a great point, because
You know,
most of
bring
our
it up.
complaints are dead end, the dead end streets.
I get all my calls on dead-end roads and cul-de-sacs. They're looking, but there's a hidden spot always with a pile of junk. They don't see the junk, but then they don't go, and we get the call. So please, if you can talk to them about that.
Okay. Yes, sir. I'm just gonna go around.
They're talking about picking up bulky waste every week?
Yeah, instead of every other week.
Every other week?
Yes.
Okay.
And
Of course,
that-
the cost went up a little bit on
No,
that.
they didn't charge us for that.
They
That's
didn't
what
charge
made them
that?
look.
Okay.
They didn't charge us for that.
Gotcha. No extra charge on weekly, okay.
And we had asked for that, we had asked what recycling cost us, we had asked, we'd gone down the line and tried to give a shopping list so we could kind of see where we're at.
So, and they're already picking up bulky waste,
Yes.
but they're picking it up every other week.
Every other week. And that's all they're doing for us at this time.
Gotcha, right.
Yes, ma'am.
So with the amount of calls I've been getting over the last few months just about bulky waste, like I could honestly say if we had a better option, I would not be voting for Pelicans. Like that's just my honest opinion because the calls are ridiculous. So I am hoping that the weekly collection helps like dramatically. It's a lot. It really is. The complaints, and this is not on dead end streets. This is on main roads throughout neighborhoods that big piles are just left there for a month at a time. That's what everyone's saying right now, that stuff has been there for a month. And I don't understand what's happening. And it's the people in the field, because anytime you call or email, they're super sweet, super responsive. They're great in the office, but it's just the field workers. I don't know if they're just super short-handed or what's going on, but I really hope that a weekly service improves things. It has to. If not, I'm so glad that there is an out clause.
Okay. Okay, I'm coming around this side, Councilwoman Ledbetter, and then I'll just go around. I've made the whole block.
Yeah, well, you know what, I pointed out last, some meetings back that I had some concerns about Pelican. Well, of course, I still do. And they're gonna have to really, prove that they can do better. I'll probably vote for it, it's true, but they're gonna have to do a lot better than they're currently doing. Now, are you gonna include like the vacant lots?
No, ma'am. It goes by your
What
house
are we gonna
count.
do?
We have the same problem, and we're gonna end up spending as much money or more than we do with Public Works picking up stuff and doing things that I really don't wanna do, trying to get our cops, and they have been trying at times to catch some dumpers, but it goes by your house count. If I tried to say, give me every lot in town, we couldn't afford this. We couldn't. I mean, if you figure, no offense to my lovely town that I really do love, but as we tear things down, we're making empty lots and we're not representing anybody, and we're trying to clean this place up. When you count the adjudicated properties and the empty lots that we've done, or the lots that have never been developed, it would double the price. I mean, we have way too many empty lots in town already, but when you try to say, I'm gonna charge me for each lot, it would be ridiculous. We couldn't afford it.
So the city is gonna continue to do.
Well, what I have been doing, I've doubled every budget, I've doubled Joe's dumpsters, if you've noticed, okay? And every time, those tires, I mean, the things that are just kicking our butt, I have no other way to do but go pick them up. I don't go far into a lot, I'm not going on private property, but between mattresses and gas tanks and tires, you know, I blew all of Joe's dumpster budget in 3 months, the first 3 or 4 months of the year, trying to keep this place clean. I am hoping that the weekly collection stops the piles from growing, but I also realize if they can't stick it in those piles, I don't know where they're gonna put it. So I know we're not out of the woods. I had a meeting with the police chief recently about that, with a couple of his staff, and saying, we gotta bust somebody. We gotta get, I need to put somebody as my new, you know, enemy number one. We gotta catch somebody dumping tires. We got to. So I am trying to do that at every turn, just to send the word out. Now, we know that later this year, if things go well, we're gonna have some money, and we've already talked about the Clico franchise fees going into cameras, to where we have our own camera system throughout our community, that I'm gonna go as far as I can with it. That could go a long way to catch some dumpers and catch people, you know, doing what they're doing. We don't wanna get rid of the cameras we have from crime fighters. The ordinance is coming to, oh, you're invited to the next, no, that's a joke. Whenever we get to do the next ordinance committee meeting, our assistant chief is working on the ordinance for the cameras at schools. That would only be working during school zones, but all of that gives us information and gives us a way that I am hoping to help give everybody some relief of all of that dumping, but I don't know what to do on empty lots. I mean, I can't.
The contract is still gonna cover 5 tires
Yes,
a year?
it's gonna have to. I mean, I gotta have, yeah, it's state law that they pick up 5 tires at every household at least once a year. Yeah. Yeah, Jimmy, what is this? It's unusual.
Well, I deal with it every day. I mean,
I know you do.
when they get the calls, I get the call.
Right.
Yeah. And then you come to my office.
Timmy, me and Brooke call the most, because it's like, when they get the calls.
No,
Yeah, it's like pony up.
education is gonna be a key aspect too, because the piles that Joe picks up are the piles that are mixed with garbage. They're all mixed up.
Cost me a fortune
You
to
got
get rid
10
of.
tires at the bottom, you know, and it's educating the general public.
Absolutely.
You know, a lot of our problems are not with pelicans. A lot of our problems are with residents that aren't putting it to the street right, that aren't doing what they need to do to have it picked up properly. That's the truth. So, I mean, we
And
can
that is
bash,
true, 'cause
we
I
can
end up-
bash pelicans, but I went to a job the other day, I showed Freddie the pictures.
Yep.
It was piled with garbage. It was piled with garbage.
So they can't pick it up.
They can't pick that up. That can't go in a C&D landfill. It can't.
In other words, it was construction demolition.
It was
piled
tree
with
limbs,
garbage.
it was tree limbs, tires, and garbage.
Right.
And once, that's what I was saying earlier, once the
And when you
pile's
get a
corrupted.
pile, the neighbor takes his pile, puts it there, this neighbor comes and puts it there, and it grows.
Yeah. But once it's got trash in it.
A lot of
You
people-
can't bash them for not picking it up.
A lot of
because-
people are putting their trash on the empty lot next door to their house.
Yeah, 'cause
That's
they don't
not
want it-
Pelicans. Pelicans isn't picking up on that empty lot.
And then I get calls that you didn't pick up my garbage. Well, it's not in front of
Yeah.
your house. And that
So-
happens often.
You know, I don't want to bash Pelicans because a lot of it is because of our residents.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, but the truth hurts.
Well, maybe I need to add a category for our ARPA money for our litter education, and we weren't, because I already got that fleshed out. Maybe
Hey,
I need to
that
take
would
a
help
little bit
MS4.
of.
That would help
maybe I
MS4.
should take a little bit of that money and do something of garbage pickup education, because
Yep.
I got some money to spend on litter education.
Yep,
Maybe.
that's a good
I
idea.
hadn't thought of that.
If you send out a flyer,
maybe.
people will throw it away.
Didn't
They're
we
not gonna
Maybe.
look at it.
Well, just so you throw it in the right place.
Hey, didn't we require a road contractor to hang on door hangers on doors? So maybe when we get a new garbage contract, we need to put door hangers and explain the new rules, huh?
Maybe so.
That could be an
Maybe so.
option.
That,
Yeah.
that could be an
It's
option.
working
And
for roads,
explain recycling, all of that.
Yeah, explain it all to them.
Yeah,
Which those rules ain't new.
No, they
I
not.
know, but they don't know them.
Due to the people that aren't following them.
Or even make it where they can actually also put it on their refrigerator, you know, put a magnet on it, so they can keep it.
Okay, well,
So,
We got money.
yes.
okay, so my only concern is that we have to make sure that the performance contract is really tight, because of the fact that if we start having problems with garbage pickup and bulky waste, then they're gonna say that we actually, you know, we didn't get a contract that it improved the service. So we just have to make sure, because the one thing I don't get is calls about Republic picking up the trash. My calls are usually about bulky waste. And again, I just want us to make sure that the performance, because the one thing that about Republic is that, you know, their corporate structure, those are employees, they have benefits. So I suspect they have less turnover because of the way they pay. So I don't know anything about, a lot about Pelicans, but I know that if they don't have a similar structure, they could run into issues with having adequate people available to do the job. So
understand.
that's why the performance piece of it and the penalties will
And
need
you
to be
know that
stiff, at
Republic's
least in the first couple of years.
Yeah, Republic's a big company, but 3 years ago, they owed me $25,000 in penalties because I was having so many complaints with Republic at the time. Good company, national company. They brought a guy named Chuck in, and Chuck fixed the place.
Okay.
And he did. So sometimes it's personnel. Sometimes it's who you bring and who fixes the problem.
Absolutely.
Chuck fixed the place and then moved on to doing something else. But, you know, so sometimes the size of the company, you
No,
know,
and I just mean whatever they actually.
the dog in the fight, you know?
Yeah, but a lot of times when you give employees like benefits and
I
stuff like
understand.
that, they tend to hang around, especially if it's a lower paying job. And so I'm just, again, I don't have,
Yeah.
we all get calls about bulky waste, but it, like you said, it's part of the problem of our own people. We cause our own problems.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't want to we don't want the situation to get worse because
I understand. I don't either, believe
they
me.
feel like, okay, now my garbage is not being picked up on the day it's supposed to be picked up.
Right, right.
I just want to make a comment that I do get complaints about Republic, unfortunately. My
Okay,
constituents
yeah.
are super vocal. They don't mind calling and complaining, but they like to break the trash cans, you know, squeeze it maybe a little too tight, throw it down
That's
really
the,
hard.
Now, you know, we had other complaints years ago, that got fixed. The biggest complaint with Republic is the amount of carts they you know,
Damage.
They just slam them down, you watch the
Bad.
wheels fly off. They, that's the
Yeah.
biggest, I do have a lot of cart complaints with
They
Republic.
crunch them in the middle.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
they
So I
either
was
crunch 'em in
looking
the
forward
middle or they
to
slam 'em down
Pelicans
and the wheels
doing
fly
the
off,
trash
but
pickup because
They
it'll
break
be
the
someone
lid.
new.
I do have quite a lot of,
Yeah.
they pick it up on time, but, you know,
Yeah.
they guys are rough.
Yeah, gonna damage something.
I haven't had those kind of complaints, but I know that I don't get complaints about my garbage not being picked up.
I understand.
I just don't want us to start having that.
I agree.
I didn't either.
Yeah.
I got one street they always miss, though. It's a street with one house on it. And they don't always miss, they miss it probably every 6 months or so, but
Yeah.
other than that,
Well, we're a lot
But I
better
do
off
think-
than we were years ago, Mr. Mayor, with picking up garbage hand by hand. And Mr. Doyle come up, I remember when he came up with the lift thing, Mr. Doyle right here. He said he's doing it at Sycamore Point, they can come do it in your Iberia. I'd be doggone
Yeah.
if it didn't work real good.
That's it.
So we come a long ways
Yeah, we
and
did.
hand dealing with it and also, they're doing a pretty fair job. We just gotta straighten out a few things.
Yeah.
We appreciate what they're doing anyway. Do a little better.
I'm so old, we had a private garbage man when I was little. Chester Luck. Anyway, that's another story.
I will
The
say one
city
thing
used to
that
pick it up.
Yes.
Pelican is very responsive. If you call them, they will make sure it gets done. So it's not all bad. I mean, we've
That's
had
why I
some
wanted
issues.
local call centers because,
Yeah.
you know, and
So
hopefully.
they've done a lot of good things for us, and they're very responsive. It's just, you know, if they miss a week or something, miss a street, of course people are gonna complain because they get tired of
Yeah.
looking at stuff.
Well, like I said, my job was to got 4 proposals. I want to thank every company that, you know, they all did a good job of it. They all asked questions. That's the first time I put together a garbage packet, but, you know, we got the prices and I brought it back to you. And like I said, being a contractor, I hear of people not picking the lowest and, you know, negotiating and doing all kind of stuff, but I felt like, you know, every job I get, I'm the low bidder. So my way of looking at it was get the best price we can, make sure it fit in the taxes that we collect. And then the next very important piece will be for Jeff to assist all of us with our concepts and our ideas and get a contract that, you know, is fair, but that has, you know, some meat in it that we all know what we're getting into. And you know, I feel that what I see, and they are responsive when we call. I do think sometimes, no offense, we gotta call a little too much, but they get on it and they fix. I also see quite a lot of things that we ask them to do that are borderline, or that some of our people are our own worst enemy and they have messed it up, or the tree limbs are still too big or whatever, and I've watched them pick it up.
Yeah.
I've watched them say, I'm gonna go ahead and, I'll get it, we'll take care of it. I mean, there was some stuff they picked up, they tried to pick up once that the equipment couldn't even pick it up. It was so big, and then they had to have the same person cut it 3 different times before they could pick it up.
Yeah.
So I do see that their service, once you call them, they do a good job, they're responsive. So I think we just need to sit down, and it's all about communication. It's all about writing a good contract, communicating them what our needs are. And again, the contract for them will be big enough that, they bid it off, they gotta chew it. But it's big enough and has enough revenue that I think they will, because now we become, we're a decent sized city, we're 29,000 people, 11,000 something households. So I think it's big enough that the money should be there to support the service.
Excellent. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Are they gonna, give new containers, or are we gonna use the old containers?
No, you gotta get new.
I think we have it in there that I think we get new containers. I think they have the option maybe, but I'm not positive. I mean, I think they have to have Pelicans on it some kind of way.
So you know Pelican's gonna bring their yellow and blue containers?
No, that's up to Pelicans.
So what will we do with the other ones? Would Republic come back and pick those up?
I still have some from the garbage contractor before. I finally got rid of them, but sometimes they pick them up, sometimes you end up with them. But the new company won't pick them up, won't use them because they're not, they're
Okay.
approved carts. Sometimes I do see that they buy the carts from the other company and then put their logo on them. I mean, a lot of things can happen.
Yeah.
But they won't pick up the old ones because, I know that for a fact. Some people use them for compost and that kind of stuff, because I have 2 of them. I ended up throwing them in, getting rid, I gave them to somebody. I didn't need that many, and they wouldn't pick them up. But sometimes they leave them behind, it just depends.
Okay.
Any other discussion?
Yellow and blue containers look good, Karen Crow.
Really? I never even, I couldn't have told you what color they were. I didn't know. There's no other discussion. They ask you to please vote your machines. Thank you. Jeff, we got our work cut out for us.
Yeah.
Boy, I can see that.
And thank you to everybody who bid. 7C.
Introduction of special ordinance number 2021-2022-11, an ordinance amending the budget to allocate funding for a National Association of Realtors grant and setting for public hearing on September 20th, 2022.
Do you have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Broussard, second, who seconded it?
It was a,
It was a tie.
Yeah,
Councilwoman Deidre Ledbetter.
flip a coin, I guess.
Is there any discussion on this item? This is a little small grant that the Realtors have come up to give us. Any discussion? Don't see any. Please vote your machines. Thank you. Thank you very much. Kevin, you're up.
Is it my turn?
It's your turn.
Can we postpone till next?
Oh, really? He needs to be working on the budgets, what he needs to be doing.
I know he's probably sitting there waiting on us.
Oh, yeah. Good evening, Kevin.
Good evening. So what should I be working on?
The budget, but just do this as,
So I was going to ask, due to the time, can we present it and we, instead of going line by line, if y'all okay, if y'all just ask questions if you have any.
I think that's appropriate because we're about to end this budget. We're going into budget meetings for next year, so if everybody's okay with that,
Yep.
that would speed us up.
Okay, so let's start with the June one. Is there any questions? Going once?
I mean, when you go through it, everybody, I don't want to be flippant of it. Everything's in line. Our percentages are still right. Everything's in line. I don't want to just rubber stamp it. Everything's in line that each department is where they should be at that time in the budget.
Yeah. Well, there
The
are
only
no
one
problems.
that's not is planning and zoning, but I'm sure there's a good reason for that.
Planning and zoning, 90% of their expenses and their revenue is the grants. And next
That's right.
year will also be the capital outlay budget. So what I do is I adjust it so that I'm only recognizing the revenue we've earned so far, and I'm only putting in the expenses that we've paid.
Works.
So they should be like 100% all the time.
Okay. Everybody's leaving.
Water bottles.
That's why I haven't started drinking mine.
Any questions on
On what?
July?
No.
Okay. And we are working on the budget. We're fine tuning some stuff, but we didn't want to rush it through and then have changes. So it'll either be tomorrow evening or Thursday by noon is what I'm thinking.
So we'll get our budget packet tomorrow by noon or Thursday?
You'll have a book to start reviewing for the
Right.
meeting on Monday and Tuesday.
One question, Alan, I'm not submitting.
You
Demolition,
called me?
it's one question, I didn't call you anything.
Oh, I thought you called me somebody.
No. I didn't refer to you as another individual, I promise you, Kevin.
Okay.
So, and I apologize if I did, but I didn't. On the demolition, I noticed on our demolition, we edging up against our budget numbers, and we're gonna have to appropriate some more money in this fiscal year than we did this year for demolitions, or,
No, actually demolition.
I mean, but what we're improving, I anticipated going up, correct? Next year.
Next year, I think what we're doing is we kind of keeping the same number that we have for this year to be spent.
Okay,
Don't have the definite number, but
right.
if I remember correctly, we haven't even hit this year's demolitions numbers.
I might have read it wrong then, Kevin. I thought we were close and showed a negative number.
For demolition, you're at, on revenue, which generally we don't have revenue.
Yeah.
But you're at 124%.
Right. Okay,
And then
now,
for demolition, you're at 82.42. And you
So we
need
are
to be at
covered.
75.
yeah, we are covering it.
It's sporadic, it's not something that happens every month.
Right.
It depends on when you guys vote to have a building.
So you be comfortable on demolition funds? Because
Yeah, I'm comfortable with finishing off the year, and we will go over and we can, when we're all present, we can go over what the number is for next
All right,
year's
that's fine.
demolition.
Yeah, sure. And our staff is a little down, so we limping along, Jimmy's doing the best he can with Liz leaving, and Maxine has helped, but it's, we rebuilding kind of part of that department, but I know we still need to do our demos, that still needs to be a priority. That's it? We done?
That's it.
Okay, thank you, Kevin.
Oh, no problem.
He's like, I sat here all that time. I could have went home.
Boy, Councilman's remarks, I'll start on Dustin's side tonight.
Thanks, Mayor.
Councilman Weir.
I only have one announcement tonight. Just recently, the city and the rec department lost someone that was very instrumental to our Parks and Rec and also to our community. He goes by the name of Pat Thibodeau. I met Pat probably about years ago, but about 20 years ago, I got involved in softball as a young guy out of high school. And I enjoyed the many years that Pat and a lot of the ball players have shared. He was very optimistic when it came to new ideas. We always did have some, he especially helped out a lot when we did the actual ballpark cleanup years back. He was excited about that. He was very instrumental in the Hall of Fame. He actually started the Hall of Fame. That was one of his biggest goals, and he was very honored to do that. And also, he was big in the Festival of Live Oaks. He loved the barbecue cook-off. He loved the
Check this
barbecue.
to make sure we weren't cheating.
Yeah, he loved the barbecue cook-off. As soon as the festival was over, he was calling the next week, got new ideas and wanted to get new sponsors. So we're gonna miss him, and I just want to let everyone know, just pray for him and his family and his friends and everyone here that he worked with and touched their lives in many ways. So and that's it for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, man.
So I have 3 announcements. One, the St. Francis Diner is looking for donations. They will take canned goods, they will take dry goods, they will take food like meat, whatever. They try not to feed the people beans every day. And so if you guys would, donate, they would really appreciate it. As a matter of fact, they'll be there Monday, and so you could drop your donations off on Monday. So if you have some, please do that. Also, there's going to be a little seminar on Monday called Renters' Rights, where we have over 50% of our residents that are renters, and so they all don't know their legal rights. I get calls all the time saying my landlord wants to kick me out, and and of course, they've never done anything, but, okay, so I don't know what the right answers are for those kinds of questions. So we're gonna have an attorney come out to the Weston Park at 11 o'clock on Monday to answer questions about as a renter, what are your rights? Okay? And then last thing is the Brown Sugar Festival is back on this year. It's gonna be happening September 24th. During the, I guess it's in a part of the Sugarcane Festival celebration. Yes. It will be on the corner of Hopkins and Field, am I correct? No, it's gonna be between Field and Robinson on
Yes.
Hopkins Street.
It's usually between
Yeah,
Robinson
Martin
and
Luther
Field.
King, the Martin Luther King Parkway,
Block party style.
block party style. If you are an entrepreneur and you have products you want to sell, there are some options available for vendors. Non-food vendors is $75 for a booth. Food vendors, I think it's $100. So please contact the guys and, let them know you want to become a vendor. And then everybody else, please come out and enjoy the music and the festivities for the Sugarcane Festival and for the Brown Sugar Festival. That's it.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to say that the mayor received a communication Friday about closing the crossings at Caroline Street and Providence Street. And we were instructed by our Senator Fred Mills to write a letter to ask to appeal it. And he's going to support us on that. And also our Representative Marcus Bryant is with us also. So we are trying to not have any closures here in our city. So if you have any information that you would like to share on the behalf of not closing them, please do. Please contact the mayor's office, send it to him, and he can forward it on to where it needs to go. We will have a segment tonight on Channel 10 with Dalford Jones, who did some interviews with some of the residents on Caroline Street and in that area, and myself and David Merrill also. So look at that tonight at 10 if you can. And continue to support us because we don't need any of our crossings closed. Thank you.
I normally don't speak at this time, but I talked to the senator this morning. I wrote a draft of a letter. Since he and I talked, I sent it to him to look at. But I'll be doing that, and I pulled up the resolutions we had passed and the other letter that we wrote just maybe 3 weeks ago that y'all instructed me,
Right.
maybe a month ago, to write a letter. So I'll be sending a packet very soon of all that information. Yes, sir.
So, in regards to the festival, the Brown Sugar Festival in St. Francis, Donna, obviously Sugarcane Festival is coming up in September, and I'm looking at Dee Dee. I will be purchasing a pig at the sale and donating it to St. Francis Diner,
Oh,
so
thank you.
cool.
Miss Juanita, she knows, I think you need a reminder, but I will be
Okay.
having it delivered, so, at some time.
Excellent.
Also, if you guys are in need of decorations for the street for the Brown Sugar Fest, please have them contact me. They're welcome to come cut some product out of my fields and decorate.
Okay.
Can't deliver it, I'll be busy. Unfortunately, I'm behind a little bit, but they're welcome to come in. I can show them where. Also, St. Peter's Church is bringing back the pumpkin patch this year, September 27th. The mayor's helping me unload. He committed to it. He come help me unload pumpkins, so we got 18-wheeler load of pumpkins coming in on the 27th. So that'll be brighten up St. Peter's Street, and the Halloween parade is the same time. So there'll be some festive downtown areas for people to come, bring your kids out. They are having educational field trips for schools to come in and do things with pumpkins and stuff. So that's gonna be a good deal. There you
Unload
go. You
pumpkins
got
on
it
my
right there.
cow.
And also, I know all you guys heard the announcement that UL is gonna make a substantial investment in the parish,
Yes.
in the research station. We'll, see how it's gonna benefit our city, but, we be prepared for new residents coming in the area. Hopefully, we can, enjoy some of that, progressiveness from that, UL investment. That's it.
Thank you. The Broussard.
Closes, we all don't want to close any crossings. We don't. We stated that a couple of weeks ago. It doesn't make sense for us to say, y'all come close some crossings. But the state has a right to come do it. So if they do it. It's not us. Don't call us. We didn't say close a crossing. The state has a right to come down and do what they have to do, and it's all because of money. $200,000 each one. The state has to pay. I got 6 up, Evangeline, Deer, Bank, and Corrine. $200,000 each, the state had to pay. They didn't want to put up arms and lights at Deer, but they couldn't get the Fontainebleau for a fire truck. So they had to put the arms and lights. Now we got 6 others in the middle of town. We're trying to rectify that situation, but I hope they don't close any. But if they do, it's up to the state, like they've done before. They just come down Lee and Prairie. Just came one morning, they closed. You know, so Generette had 6, they closed 3, and they put arms and lights at the other 3. So it's just the amount of money, the people have to understand, they're trying to save the people money. Because if they can close 6, that's $200,000 times 6. That's a lot of money they save for the public. But they think they can go a block over from Caroline to Evangeline or to the other side, 1 block over. But they have those narrow streets, that's hard to do. So I just want to make sure the public understand if they do close them, it's the state that's gonna come do it, not none of us said, come, I don't want to get phone calls, I've been pushing this for a lot of years. It's not me saying, come close the crossing. And when you get older, Mr. Mayor, it gets tough. Well, I sure didn't want to miss 3 weeks of 3 meetings. But look out for your people next door, your family, older ones mostly. It catches up with you when you get older. And it's hard. But I sure didn't want to miss any meetings, Mr. Mayor. Look, I just want to make sure that people understand if they do close these crossings, it's none of our doing. The state has a right to come do it.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, man, I'm gonna piggyback off of everybody tonight, and I'm not let them take my thunder.
There you go.
But he's right, and Ms. Ledbetter, we all have supported this railroad thing since we've been here. We didn't want to see none of them closed. But you know, in defense of us, I learned something being on the council when I was, I guess I would say, fighting the railroad to get them to cut ditches and get them to pave potholes or what have you going over the tracks. And somebody told me something simple that I didn't think about. They said the railroad been here before us. And all I could think about was the old Western movies. The railroads have been here before us, so that lets the public know how much power as a council we have over the railroads. But again, man, I'm with y'all, supporting y'all, and hoping they don't close those very important, railroad crossings. I'm gonna reiterate Brown Sugar Festival. Come out, enjoy it. People been asking if we're having a festival again this year, so glad you announced that. St. Francis Diner, please come out, support. They made the news, I think it was yesterday, shut down for a week because they didn't have food. They didn't have food, you know. Ricky, I'm gonna piggyback on the research center. I knew before a lot of y'all. I cut the CFO's hair. He's my friend. He's a customer. He's a CFO from Nigeria. He told me, he said, we got something big coming to the research center. And he was explaining to me when I saw it on the news. I was like, why y'all didn't invite me? I could have go stand with all these big dignitaries and stuff and get some more stuff done, you know. But I do have one on y'all, and I can't believe. No, I'm not going to do that to y'all. St. Edward's Catholic Church. They're too Catholic. St. Edward Catholic Church is having a youth night out this weekend, September the 10th. It's called, they say come out and challenge Father Don on Madden Xbox game. What I'm understanding about Father Don, is Father Don,
The new
The new pastor.
it's Maynard or Bernard. Father Don. And from what I heard, he's trying to connect with all youth in the community, Baptist, Catholic, whatever you worship. It's going to be at the St. Catherine Drexler Family Life Center.
The new
And it's
building.
from 5 to 7, and it's going to be September the 10th. That's this Saturday, right? So, bring your kids out there and go meet Father Don. I heard a lot about him. I like him. I like him, and that's all I have. Oh, Pat, man. Pat gonna be missed, man. I didn't realize he was 72. He had a lot of youth. Man, flag football, softball. We participated in the tournaments, and every time you see me, say, "What's up, Cutting?" And I just like, I like that, the way he was affectionate with that, man. He will be missed, man. That's all I have.
I too want to send my condolences to Mr. Pat Thibodeau's family. I only met him last year at the Live Oak Festival. Super sweet guy. He's the reason that my husband has a first place trophy for ribs, because he let us enter in last minute. So very sad to hear his passing. We have a CERT meeting tomorrow. It's hurricane season. It's going to be about that at 5:30 at the 911 call center. I was also going to touch base on the St. Francis Diner. If you have a student that goes to Westgate, they're actually accepting donations there. If you want to just send it with the students, you can do that, or you could bring it to the diner. Excuse me. I should see you at the pumpkin patch too, the unloading. I also have that on my calendar. So we'll all be there apparently. They need the help, I know that. Yes.
Need more help.
Oh, yeah. That's all I have for tonight.
Thank y'all very much. This was a really good meeting. It was long. I'm gonna cut it short. Next meeting, September 20th. Give me a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you.